All right. Let's get into this, guys. What's up? Who's here? You freaking legend, Dev and Wild Slicer coming in with the with the resubs. I was reading your Friday stream message as it just mixed in my brain. Okay, I'm rusty. Okay, it's been 84 years. It's that freaking meme. What's up? Who do we got here? Dev, thanks again for that sub. Well, continuing the sub you got from Champion and Wild Slicer 16 again. 16 wasn't a bad year. Appreciate that, guys, for the support. Eva Hunts a win, True North. What's up? How's it going? And that was a leak of the pipes. Well, you know, we'll discuss that today, Eva. I may need to associate those funds to other things. So we may just have to deal with the basement's condition at the moment, unfortunately. But JT, buddy, what's up? How you doing? So, yeah, if you guys didn't see, I posted a TikTok yesterday, which I know was uncommon of me, I know, but, yeah, I have some ideas. What's TikTok? Don't worry, Eva, it's like this new kids thing, I don't know. 5 a.m. last night and TikTok came up for you page. Nearly skipped past, but I noticed the beard. I mean, I guess. You know what's funny? You're not the first person to make a comment about my beard in that video. Oren also was like, man, your beard's looking good in that video. It was funny, though. I had just got my hair cut and my beard trimmed yesterday, so it made sense. Okay, I'm a little warm. Just gotta take my hoodie off real quick. But yeah, like, you're not the first person to mention my beard in that TikTok, which is funny to me. Because that's, like, not what I was, like, thinking about at all when I made that. Okay. So what's up? How's everybody been? It's been, like, a hot minute since I've streamed. And I know that today's, like, not my normal streaming day, because normally I'm at the gym right now. Well, be getting ready to go to the gym right now. But I messed up this week and forgot that my trainer was going to be out of town this weekend, and I was supposed to go on Wednesday, and I completely missed it, so... What's your link to the TikTok? Shit. Is it on here? Okay. It was like Stream Elements is really slow. Is it on there? No. Let me get the link. I think it's like at the Hauntings game or something like that on TikTok. TikTok. I wasn't prepared for this part. Oh my god. Stop. No. Ah. I'm sorry. TikTok is stupid. Okay. There you go. Hunt to win. You got it before me. 99 plus. What the heck happened? I mean, they're just likes, right? Follows. I don't know how this stupid thing works. I'm trying to be more social media conscious, but I wanted to try TikTok out because I was just sitting on my couch and I had this idea that I've been messing around with all day. The actual TikTok itself, let's see.
Hey everybody, so I just want to make a quick...
Is this. That's the link to the actual TikTok that we're going to talk about today. And then when I'm done with today, just so everybody's aware, if you guys can't stick around right now and you just came in to say hi or whatever, I'm going to plan... Rodrigo, I just almost completely missed that while I was on the other screen. Thank you so much for that resub. If you guys can't stick around today, I totally get it. It's a weird Friday random stream. But what I'm gonna do is, depending on how the conversation goes with you guys today, I'm gonna make a YouTube video that kind of recaps the stream from today, and then I'll post that up on YouTube so that you guys could watch it at your leisure. Because I'm sure I'm gonna go off on rabbit, tangents and all this other stuff while we talk today. So I'm gonna try to put together a little YouTube video that'll just put out and let you guys know kind of what we covered today based off your guys' feedback. But Frantic, hello, how you doing? Wrecker, what's up, by the way? Who else did we just get here? PC Goes Splat. I think I said hello to Hunterwin, Dev, Eva, JT. We said hi to y'all, you guys, right? Rodrigo, of course. Gonna be scarce today. Have fun. All right, Frantic. I will do my best to distract you. My best, you know. Swirl, what's up? How you doing? So I get that comment a lot. I've been getting that comment a couple times already, Eva, and we're gonna address it in today. A great day. Thank you for that Prime resub for 6 months. How are you doing today? Dev, I think I said hello to you already, but you know, I'll say hi again. Someone who doesn't fully understand Dev, so does it. Yes, I'm not taking anybody's word to heart on this, right? I'm gonna first things first. I'm not making any. You got the money? Nice, Wrecker. That's awesome. I haven't heard anything, so I don't think I got any money. Epitome, what's up, man? Thank you for that Prime resub as well for 25 months. Holy crap. Let's hear it. We're going to cover it in just a second. I'm kind of giving it a few minutes for people to kind of filter in because I kind of just impromptu hit start stream. So I don't want to be like a broken record and repeat myself 500 times. I mean, like I said, I am going to make a YouTube video out of this, I think, and just post it. We'll discuss it here first. But yeah, so there's the comment that you have there, Eva, about you know, not sure how good of an idea it would be to kind of make the switch at this point. I want to bring some clarity to that first off today, but then just kind of address why I think this would be, if I'm going to do something like this is the time to do it. First things first, though, I'm going to be collecting community feedback until I finish Dark Passenger. So this isn't like, hey, I am etching it in stone today. This is going to be like I'm floating the idea to you guys, and you guys can kind of chew on it a little bit, pass it around to your friends, maybe see what they have to say, you know, and then I'll collect feedback on it until I finish Dark Passenger. Because either way, Dark Passenger needs to be done first. So we have time to make this decision. It's not like anything that we go over today is set in stone or final. But I would like to, you know, step on my little talk box here for a second and provide some rationale and some thought process behind it. So that way, not only will you guys get a little bit better understanding of what I'm envisioning for it, but also the reasons why I'm looking towards it. And again, at the end of the day, if it comes down to it and it's just like, no, you know, let's just not do that, and we scrap it, we just go back to the original Hauntings, then that's the case. That's fine. Again, I'm more so focused on Dark Passenger at the moment. These last 2 days, I've been feeling very burnt out because I've been working very, very long hours trying to get this game done. So I just took the last 2 days to kind of decompress a little bit before getting right back into the big jump this weekend. And so, yeah, so that's where this idea kind of came from. So we'll give it about maybe 5 more minutes, and then we'll get started on the TikTok. If you haven't seen the TikTok yet, there was a link, I linked it in chat a second ago. I'll link it again right now if you guys want to watch what the TikTok was. That's basically what we're going to be talking about here in a few minutes. But like I said, I just want to give everybody the opportunity to kind of start filtering in to kind of be part of the discussion from the start, from the rip kind of deal. And then, like I said, I'm going to post a YouTube video covering it. And if there's things that we don't talk about today that maybe you think of later, you can't stick around for the whole thing today, then you watch the video later. Feel free, like I've always said, you know, send me either a DM on Discord, or you can just put it straight in like the discussion channel on Discord. You can, you know, if you're not in the Discord, don't want to join it, it's cool, whatever. There's also Twitter, and all those are the 2 main ways to reach me at the moment, through Twitter and or Discord. So, and then obviously we'll have the YouTube video up, so you could also post comments in the comment section of the YouTube video. I will be reviewing those. You don't do TikTok? It's all good. So I put it on TikTok for 2 reasons. One, I kind of wanted to start testing out what it would be like to just start, you know, recording videos on my couch of me talking or whatever, and posting them to TikTok. So it was kind of like a trial for that. But then also I posted this idea on TikTok strategically first, because it is kind of a big, broad change to the game. And TikTok is my smallest following count. So what I thought was, post it on TikTok, and if it's like massively like overblown with people like saying it's a bad idea, then maybe I just don't post it on Discord or Twitter or whatever. But I wasn't. I mean, like I was getting a bunch of views, but I wasn't really getting any comments, so I posted it on Twitter. But I haven't yet to post it in the Discord just because I figured we'll talk about it here today, and then I'll just post the YouTube video in Discord. So appreciate you guys for that hype train to start off the day. Level 2, thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you. So about 2 more minutes. It means like the stream's been up for about 15 minutes. Then we'll get started on the comments. I guess what I'll do is while we wait for the last 2 minutes here to start, I'll just recap what the TikTok was in case you guys are like swirled there and don't want to don't do TikTok, don't go on TikTok, haven't watched the TikTok, whatever. The basic gist of what the TikTok was covering was trying to get your guys' input and feedback and ideas on converting the Hauntings, taking what currently exists in it basically and expanding it to be more of a open world survival ghost hunting game, rather than just like Phasma where you just play rounds, and going in like a little bit bigger scope of things. That does come with obviously more work, but I have a plan for that. And so that's going to be what we're going to be talking about. Again, we're going to give it about another minute or so for people to kind of filter in. And then we'll just get started talking on it. So that's the general idea. Obviously, if you guys have questions, feel free to put them in chat. We'll go through them. I think a lot of people are curious about A, how would that work? B, it doesn't sound like a good idea because, we're so far along in development, and how much would this add or change? I already know those are kind of the questions that I'm going to have from that. But we're gonna get into all of it. I don't know how long the stream will be today, because what I'd like to do is after the stream is done, I'm gonna be taking notes throughout the stream on my other screen here, and then I'm gonna use those notes as we discuss things, because I kind of outlined this whole idea in my head yesterday, but I didn't really get it all on paper. So as we go through it today, I'm gonna write down notes, and then I'm gonna try by the end of the day. I do have some day job stuff to do today, but by the end of the day, hopefully be able to post a YouTube video, so that for anybody who's not here, or you want to discuss it amongst your friends and want to give them more context or whatever, there'll be a YouTube video that I'm hoping to like 10-15 minutes at most of a YouTube video. Yes, Record, that would be part of it. And create more ghosts. All right, so it's been about 15 minutes. I feel like the people who are going to jump in the stream right away are here. So I'm sure we'll get people filtering in throughout the day. If you see somebody who asks a question in chat that I've already addressed or whatever, I'll probably see it as well, because the chat doesn't fly too crazy in here. I will hopefully try to get through all the content in one shot, and then I'm sure we'll get a lot of repeat questions as people filter in. So either if you guys know the answer, I may correct you if you try to answer them, but we'll just kind of point them to like hey, that's already been addressed. He's going to put a YouTube video out later. That's going to be like the generic answer for a lot of it, just so I don't have to repeat myself 500 times today, because this is gonna stir the pot a little bit, I think. And I don't know how everybody will respond to it. That's why we're having a discussion about it today, rather than just implementing it. I'm learning from the mistakes of several companies that have been in the news recently for just implementing something without discussing it with their community. So we're going to discuss it today, and yeah, and then we'll make a decision based off that. Like I said, we have plenty of time. I'm still working on Dark Passenger. Dark Passenger is coming along pretty good. It was a lot more work than I think I originally scoped, but it's getting there. So I'm still excited for it, but it's just it turned into a bit more than I expected originally. I already cut one level out of the game too, and it's still a bit more than I expected. Anyways, so we'll start with the big old thing from yesterday with the TikTok, right? Am I gonna play reveal? I might just watch people play it, to be honest. I was kind of disappointed it was made with Unity. Anyways, you're off track, Eva. All right, so the thing that I talked about yesterday was taking the Hauntings and moving it into more of an open world survival game. What does that mean? Do you guys want to start with the rationale behind the idea or an explanation of what the idea is? Because I guess that would kind of pick where we start. Do you guys want to know the reason why I'm looking at doing it, or just like what I'm looking to do? The reason? Ration? Okay. So. Okay. So we're gonna start with rationale first. So here's what's going on. As you guys know, I'm a government employee, and with the recent shutdown scares that we had, and the looming potential shutdown scares that we have coming up in November, it's not that I fear for my job or anything like that, but it's kind of been like a wake up call in me that like, hey, like at any moment, you know, the cushiness that I have in my day job could go away, and I might have to look for another job and do all this other stuff. So I started looking towards getting the game funded again, either through maybe doing some sort of crowdsource thing, but more so maybe looking for investors or a publisher of some kind that would be able to fund the development of the Hauntings. With that, I started poking around. I started kind of reaching out to a couple people and kind of figuring out what the best approach would be for that. And it turns out that there's not a whole lot of interest when it comes to like the big investors in a ghost hunting game. I've tried to discuss with them saying like, hey, look at the success of Phasmo and some of these other games that have come out in the same genre. But they kind of look at it as, you know, too much of a risk to get any kind of large substantial investment. Because with this investment, it wouldn't be just, hey, let's fund Worka, you know, to go work on it. This would be more like, hey, let's fund Worka and like 9 other people to work on the Hauntings as like a team, like a studio. And so a lot of these companies, or these investors and stuff, they're not sold on this idea of a ghost hunting game, or just a ghost hunting game. However, the second you put the word open world survival in front of that, it opens a lot of doors. A lot of people are interested in it. If you look at a lot of the crowdsourcing, crowdfunding of games, a lot of these open world survival games just get massively funded. A lot of investors are very interested in these open world survival games. There's just a lot more interest in that genre. Soul, thank you for that resub. Appreciate you. So that got my gears turning in my head of, okay, I know at one point I mentioned on stream about after the Hauntings was out, maybe we work on, you know, the Hauntings world game where it's open world and, you know, you can go between investigations and all this other stuff. And I started kind of brainstorming yesterday, okay, and how could I convert what I have over towards maybe an open world survival-ish game? And it's funny enough because the few people that I DM'd about it and talked about it, I talked about it with my wife. It was really interesting to see that there were a lot of like people like my wife who are, I will never play the Hauntings because it's not my style of game in the way that it currently is, to, oh, well, now that it's got this, you know, open world survival / base building, resource gathering portion of it, and then there's also the ghost hunts that you do, that sounds a lot more interesting to me. So right there, I already started kind of getting this inkling of, okay, this is a much broader market that we can reach than just the ghost hunting market. Which again, allows me to take that data to investors and say, hey, I got this idea. I already got a lot of really good support on it as it sits now. But if we add this little open world, you know, base building, resource gathering, survival mechanic to it, that's on top of what I have now, I think the people who like the game for what it is now will still be getting what they want and more. And then that brings in a whole other audience of people who are terrified to play these ghost hunting games, but like the idea of this survival aspect of it. And so I think that the aperture opens up to a larger audience. And so the main rationale of starting to look at this idea was, how could I raise funds to insulate myself from any kind of potential day job issues, potentially even quit my day job completely and focus on this, as well as hopefully being able to fund about a team of 10 of us total to work on this as a team. I don't want to be reaching out to people to say like, hey, come work on the Hauntings for free or with profit share things, because that opens up a whole can of worms. I'd much rather go into it as a more professional stance where it's like, no, I'm hiring you to do a job. This is your day job now. Go work on the Hauntings. So that being said, that's kind of the rationale behind why I started to even consider this idea now rather than considering this idea later down the road. Is I think this would be something that would make the Hauntings bigger than it already is, and it will attract a lot more funding than the way it currently sits. I know a lot of people like a lot of the things that I'm doing with it, and honestly, the plans that I have for the game aren't really going to change what currently exists in the Hauntings as is. This is just going to be adding a lot more to it. However, the idea would not be that I would do this on my own. This would be done only if I can secure the funding and get enough big enough team to do it. If I can't secure funding to bring in a whole team of people to work on it, then the Hauntings will stay 100% as it is right now and will be finished in that scope. If it's just going to be me. But if we can raise the funding, this is where I would be looking to kind of move towards. That being said, that's kind of giving you guys the rationale behind why I'm looking at it. Now we'll start going into, okay, we get the rationale, but what does this look like? What is the gameplay going to be like? How is this going to work? Because I'm sure there's a lot of you guys that would be like, okay, I get why you want to do it, but I don't know if this would really work, and that it's going to add a bunch of work. Let me explain my thought process that way. Let me just say hello really quick. Ace Plays, welcome on in. Was it easy to do, though? Would it be story-based? Yes and no. Yes and no, Eva. I'll explain that in just a moment. Single story-based games are much better. Open world games are time killers, and time is precious. I get that. How would you connect survival open world with ghosts? I mean, that's what we're going to talk about right now. What's up, Dr. Elliott? Okay, so here's the general idea that I kind of came up with yesterday, and this is kind of what I would be using to pitch to you guys, and as well as potential investors. So the idea is that we're either going to do it as a small mountain town or coastal town. So think of it that you'll be encapsulated, basically. I don't want to do an island. Islands, I feel like, are too overrated. So we're going to do like a coastal town surrounded by mountains, and probably either ocean on one side or just completely like in mountains. And the roads in and out of this town are going to be blocked off because the government, we're not trying to make an MMO, no, Dr. Elliott, not that. The government has shut down this small section of towns due to a massive paranormal event that took place. And they are sending in Directive 7 Bravo to try to contain and cleanse this thing. They're, spinning it off, covering it up as like a nuclear waste fallout thing or whatever, but it's mostly due to a paranormal event that took place. What we would be doing is we would be taking the 5 levels that currently exist in the Hauntings. So you have your farmhouse, your gold mine, your campsite, your diner, and your motel. I think that's the 5. We would be basically building that into one large map. And those would be what I call the 5 main entities, the 5 baddies of the game, if you want to call it that. And so the idea is that you get sent in because Directive 7 Bravo has lost contact with agents on the ground, and they are sending you in to try to establish what's going on. You and your friends or whatever, right? So it would still be peer-to-peer. The servers would be hosted locally. You would have your own save files. Friends could join your save files. And that's how that would kind of logistically work. It's not going to be dedicated servers. It's not MMO-based. You can't run into random people in the game. It's everybody that's just in your server. So think of it like a private server. And then the idea is you get sent into the town. Everybody's evacuated. And there are remnants of the initial Directive 7 Bravo team that came in. However, there's nobody there. So your first tasks will be to rebuild the command center, gather resources, and reestablish your comm links back to Directive 7 Bravo. So there's a whole bunch of like little base building stuff that you would have to do initially. And then from there, you will be crafting your own ghost hunting gear, anything that you think you might need, and then you'll be able to physically get in one of the cars and drive to one of the 5 locations. So there's the 5 main locations that are in the hauntings now will be in the map, and you can now drive to these locations and you can start an investigation there. Each location will be part of the storyline, so you start from one location to the other, and then you will level up your character. So in the beginning, right now, I don't know if it'll be a character creator. You may still have to use a preset model, but in the beginning, when you create your character, you would select your model, you would select your class, and then you would hit play, and then you would start leveling up that character in game. There's going to be different crafting skills you have to unlock and level up, all this other stuff. Now, the initial Directive 7 Bravo team that's on site, they will have been all not there anymore, but they have been possessed by certain entities. So you may run across them out in the open, and then you have to perform an exorcism on them to save them. And if you save them, they will become a NPC back at your base, and you'll be able to sell stuff to them. They'll help you repair stuff, help you craft stuff, and all that good stuff. So the Directive 7 Bravo agents that are on site, you have to save them, and then they become NPCs back at your main base that'll help you craft gear, do whatever you need to do. And then once you go out to the locations on site, so you got your farmhouse, your motel, whatever, your campsite. Once you get to those locations, there will be an entity in there that is exactly the same that we have in the hauntings right now. And what that means is you go in there with your own crafted ghost hunting gear. You do an investigation. You try to gather evidence on what's there, and then you can try to perform an exorcism to cleanse that location. Each ghost will be a different level based off the location. So think of it like when you play World of Warcraft, there's zones that you're supposed to like level up in. That's going to be kind of what these will be. You'll get experience and all this other stuff for cleansing this. However, you can also scavenge around the little town for equipment and gear and all this other stuff that you can use to craft better equipment, or stuff that you can trade with the NPCs in return for equipment. So say maybe you go into town and you find food and water and different materials and like hammers and stuff like that that you can then trade in with these NPCs, and they'll give you things like EMF detectors and stuff like that. But when you're in town, you will be not able to be attacked by an entity. However, there will be shadow people that will be able to attack you in town. So and shadow people can be killed with assault shotgun. Entities cannot be killed with assault shotgun, but they can be, disabled temporarily with a shotgun. So you have to make sure that you are equipping yourself with weapons that you can fight shadow people with while you're in town, while you're scavenging. Then you're going to be building your base up with the equipment and the stuff that you scavenge in town. And then when you're geared up and ready to go, you pick one of the locations to go out to based off your level. You do get experience for killing shadow people, and crafting and all the other stuff will go towards your player level so that you'll be able to level up as well. You don't just have to do the investigation part of it. But then when you complete an investigation part of it, that area will be cleansed, and then you can move on to the next area. Once you've cleansed all 5 areas, the area has been considered cleansed, and that would complete a playthrough of the game, is what I'm kind of thinking. So then you can build a new world. You can start building new bases or whatever. You can keep building your bases or whatever, but the government would say, okay, the area is cleansed now, and people can come back once the 5 locations have been cleansed. But again, remember that each ghost at different things are going to be different levels, different rarities. We might say like, okay, the farmhouse is the easy ghost, but like one in the gold mine is the hardest, or whatever it might be. But like I said, the game in those aspects will play exactly like the Hauntings plays now. The only difference is here you have to travel to that location, you have to craft equipment to bring with you, and then you have to set up stuff there. Now, you can also leave equipment there to gather evidence while you're gone. So say, for example, you put cameras in there, and you leave to go back to town to go grab more equipment or whatever. Those cameras can potentially capture things for you like orbs, ghost sightings, things like that might help you figure out what it is while you're gone. So obviously you need to witness things like ghostwriting and EMF and all that other stuff. So you still need to investigate, but there will be certain things that you can leave and come back to. There will be 2 game modes to it. There's going to be a hardcore mode and a softcore mode. The hardcore mode, if you get killed by an entity, your character is deleted, and you have to start over. And then softcore would be you get killed and then you get rescued back to the command center, and then you lose, whatever gear you brought and maybe some money or something. I don't know, or experience or something. So that's the general idea I have for it. That's kind of what I've outlined yesterday. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of gaps that I have to fill in there. We're not talking massive map, but we are talking big enough to probably have a command center area, a coastline, and maybe 2 or 3 small towns. And by small towns, I mean like a main street with some businesses on the side that you can go in and loot for resources. Resources will respawn. Shadow people will respawn. Entities will not respawn once they've been cleansed. You have to start a new map to get the entities back. They will be randomized though, so that they're, if it's a demon, whatever, those will be randomized and set for that playthrough of the mode. And then again, once you've cleansed it, all that other stuff, you would go back. So I've been ignoring chat because I just wanted to brain dump all this, guys. So I'm going to scroll back up, and I'm just going to kind of go through and start answering questions. If you have a question about what I've talked about so far, just put it in chat, and then when I get to it, I will just go over it. I know it was kind of a lot to kind of spew up front. I know we've had another like 20 or 30 people join since I started this, so there's probably a lot of people confused right now as to what's going on. So let me scroll up. There would still be story based. So the story in this case is, you're going in there trying to, if you reestablish communication back to Directive 7 Bravo, which will be an initial task, there will be airdrops that'll come in occasionally from Directive 7 Bravo that'll drop it out in the open somewhere that you can go out and find crates from Directive 7 Bravo, which may contain ghost hunting gear, information that you might need for maybe exorcisms and stuff like that, and other just helpful equipment might fall into these crates. So that was a thing. But the story is kind of, you're there to help these people out. The towns have been evacuated, so the only thing that's there are Directive 7 Bravo agents who have been possessed, shadow people, and then the entities. So I don't want this to be like a massive, don't think of this like a zombie survival where there's just zombies everywhere. It's not going to be like that. This is going to be more like it's just empty everywhere. And then occasionally you'll get attacked by a shadow person that you won't see coming when you're resource looting. And then there will be obviously entities that you will encounter. The entities will be bound to their location though. So like I was saying, it will be just like it is in the Hauntings. They won't leave the farmhouse. They won't leave. So if you are about to get killed or something like that, you run out the door and you jump in the car and drive away. They won't chase you down the road or anything. So the storyline of it is still going to be kind of like, hey, you're going to be given quests, right? Missions. And then there will be an overall mission progress, which is just cleanse the 5 locations. And then you might get small things like, hey, go pick up resources, reestablish the communication link to Directive 7 Bravo, perform an exorcism on a DB7 agent to get an NPC, things like that. That being said, there will also possibly be in this game right off the rip, the companion system that I was talking about originally in the Hauntings might be something that'll be in this right off the rip, so that you can bring a cat or a dog with you, and then they'll travel around in the world with you as you go through different locations, and they'll help you find resources and like I said, alert you to the baddies and all that other stuff. So so it's not MMO. Right now, what I'm thinking that this will be is private servers hosted locally on your machine, with all of your data saved in the EOS and the cloud still. And then when people connect, they download that data and they initialize their game to your server. I'm thinking it'll be peer-to-peer. And I'm thinking as of right now, it'll be 8 players. So 8 people or up to 8 of you can be in the same world at the same time. You don't have to go doing the investigations at the same time. One person can go to the farmhouse, one person can go wherever else. Again, think of it like you're creating a character though. So you're not going to be able to just change your class from demonologist to priest or whatever, you're going to have a priest, right? You're going to have a demonologist. That'll be a different character. And you can choose to either have that character join your currently existing world, or you can create a new world with that character, that kind of stuff. But yes, I do think I will be bumping the player count up from 4 to 8 total people that can be in this game. But again, it's not going to be public servers, so you're not going to see random people in your match. This is going to be like you have to invite them to your server. Non-paranormal threats. I am not thinking of any non-paranormal threats at this moment. If there would be anything like that, Grade A, it would be maybe like a crazy citizen who used to live in these small towns who are freaking out about what's going on, and they're trying to expose this to the world and all that stuff, and they might attack you in that instance. But that would be scope creep that I'm not sure I want to add. Like I said, right now, the main storyline is that everybody's been evacuated from these small towns. You've been brought in to assist a team that was already on site, but they aren't communicating anymore because they all got possessed. So your job is to come in there. You can find these guys who are possessed out in the open, and then you can perform a ritual on them to perform an exorcism on them, basically. And if you do that, they will go back to the command center and become an NPC where you can buy and sell goods from. They can help you craft things and repair your stuff, and then maybe there could be like an AI or something like that you can get that will help actually build your base and all that stuff. Pre-made models will start. Yeah, so that brings up a good point. I forgot to mention. So the idea, guys, if I go forward with this, A, like I said, I'm going to be collecting feedback until I'm done with Dark Passenger. But B, I'm going to create an initial like prototype of this open world, and for that I'll probably be using pre-baked models of some kind to get this set up and running, so that I can take that to investors and say, hey, look at this prototype that I made of this game. Here's the overarching goal of this game. Here's all of the mechanics and features and things that I want to do with it, to try to secure funding, because then I can have a team come in. And part of that team is going to be like environment artists and all the other stuff, where I'm going to be like, okay, hey, like this is what I got right now, but like, let's like, spruce it up a bit so that it's, a little bit more lively, a little bit more like what it would be like or something like that. And then we can start adding custom art and doing all the other stuff in there at that point. But again, that would be after we received funding and I was able to hire artists to do that. Basically, it'd be the same as the current, except all maps are merged into one plus additional tasks. Pretty much, yeah. It'd be gameplay-wise, it would be exactly the same as it is now. However, all maps merged into one big map, and there will be some base building, resource gathering, additional objectives that you can do. If you don't want to do that stuff, you can just go out and level up your character a little bit, and then just do the investigations, and then boom, reset the map, right? So theoretically, you could play it the same way that Phasmo is played right now, right? It's just instead of just instantly loading into the map that you choose, you would have to, get in the old Impala there and drive out to each of the maps, cleanse each map. You can come back to a map if you don't finish it or whatever, and then once you're done, you can just reset the world and do it again. And you can bring that same character into a new world too. So let's say you level up, you cleanse everything. You can bring that same higher level character into a fresh new world and start it all over again. So there'll still be like the very similar mechanics to what there is in the Hauntings now. This is just adding some additional features, gameplay stuff that are very big buzzwords right now for when it comes to getting investments, getting crowdfunding, getting stuff like that. You have to have that kind of survival. That's another thing I need to bring into it. There will be survival elements to the game though. And what I mean by survival elements is your fortitude that you have inside the Hauntings now will be your health in this game. Your fortitude can drop if you are not consuming food and water and all that other stuff, so you will have to manage a health system that is in every other survival game out there right now in terms of maintaining eating food and water. That'll help bring up your fortitude, but also if you're witnessing ghost events and activities and stuff like that, it will start to lower your fortitude. You can still get possessed and all the other stuff can happen. And those possession mechanics and all that stuff will be very similar to what that's in the Hauntings now. We're just going to be putting this into a bigger, broader world. So there will be some survival aspects that you'll have to deal with and balance. So there will be some stuff that won't be able to play just like the Hauntings is now. But in order to hit those buzzwords, like I said, that we're looking for to gather investors and all other stuff into the project, things like survival, things like RPG, base building, resource gathering, blah, 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 crafting. Those are the keywords, those buzzwords that these publishers and investors are looking for in order to draw in the big enough money that I would need to hire. Like I said, I would like to be doing this with a team of me plus 9 others, spread across different tasks, art, sound effects, visual effects, coding, all that good stuff. So that's the idea of expanding this. Again, none of this is set in stone right now, guys. We are all having a community discussion today. State of Decay, but Ghosts. So somebody else brought up State of Decay, and I have not seen that game, so I do need to look into it. Let's bring up another good point. If we go with this idea, 2 things about it. One, we might stream on evenings or something like that more often. And during those streams, I might be playing some survival games. So bringing up games like State of Decay, I think it was like The Long Dark or something like that was one that Orange says. A couple other of these like horror survival-y kind of games. I would like to play some of them, get some better understanding of like what people like in these survival-esque games, just so that we go in with a better understanding of the customer, of the people who want to play this game, what they're expecting, but also just to kind of give me some more ideas to kind of build upon what we've already talked about today. If I don't want to save in some, you don't have to save. Immediate thought regarding crafting, you should start with basic gear and be able to upgrade it through crafting. It'd be weird to be sent there by the government with no gear at all. So I do think you'll have some gear that you'll start with, Wrecker. But I do want it to be very limited. And then instead of upgrading it through crafting, gear will be able to get destroyed. Same thing with like the durability system that we have now, except for instead of being able to repair stuff, once it's destroyed, you have to rebuild it or something. And so the equipment's going to go from a little bit what we see now to more like homemade looking, I think, in this aspect. Or you can find completely furnished equipment like what we have in the game now. Hey, Space Man, thank you for that reset. I appreciate you. It would be weird to be sent there with nothing, yes, but they're also sending you there to establish communication with current existing agents that were sent there with full set of gear. So they may send you with stuff, very minimal stuff, like maybe a flashlight. You may go in with like, think of it like when you watch the TV show Supernatural, right? Yes, they have a bunch of stuff loaded in their car and their trunk, but when they go into a location, what do? They open up the trunk, they grab a shotgun, they grab a few things out of the trunk, they close it and they go inside, right? They don't go in with, a whole bunch of gear strewn on them. So that's kind of the idea here. You're kind of coming in with bare minimum gear. Now, that being said, if you level up a character on another world and then you start a new world, I may let you carry over your inventory into the new world. Like the base may need to be rebuilt or something like that, or I don't know, maybe I'll make it so that there's like a persistent mode where you can reset the entities or something. And that way that your base stays there, your NPCs stay there, your gear stays there, all that good stuff. There'll be different little modes that I'll play around with, but the idea is that when you get a fresh level 1 character going in, you would have very, very bare minimum on you, just enough to kind of survive as you explore around a little bit and then get to, a command center thing. Ghost Hunting RPG, more or less. Ghost Hunting, so it's a open world. This is the buzzwords you got to hit here. Open world survival RPG, Ghost Hunting. Go put that in front. Ghost Hunting open world survival RPG. There you go. That would be the long, word jumble of title of what the genre would be for this. Small Ghost has to respond. See, again, little details like that. Only having the 5 investigations seems sad. But you got to keep in mind, like, the ghosts are going to be at, like, higher levels as you go through, so you're not going to be able to technically go in there and just hit back-to-back, like, drive to each location and do it right away. You'll have to kind of level up a little bit first, so there will be some other things. Like I said, you'll get experience from crafting, from base building, from doing little side missions, for saving agents, possessed agents, but for saving them. You'll get experience for all of that, and then you'll level up your character. You'll put some stuff into your different stats that'll have, but it'll be more RPG open worldy feeling than it'll be, because like the thing with it right now, like I said, is that the way the Hauntings is right now, it works to an extent, but it's very hard to compete with games like Phasmo, right? You're gonna get those player base to come over temporarily, and they're probably just gonna fall back to Phasmo. We've seen it through all of the ghost hunting games that have come out since Phasmo. Pretty much everybody kind of reverts back to it. This would be something that is like, hey, I'm really familiar with this concept of Phasmo, but now there's like so much other things to do before I can even just do like a starting investigation or whatever, that I think that people might be intrigued and stay with something like this longer than completely reverting back to Phasmo immediately. Are you planning to have a team for this, or is it a solo project? I will only do this if the prototype is enough to gather enough money through either crowdsourcing, investors, whatever, to hire a team. And the team size that I'm looking at is, like I said, around 10 people. That's including myself, so 9 additional people to work on this project. But I would only like to be able to do that if I'm able to pay them a salary or whatever, hourly wage or whatever, like, however that breaks down, to work on this as their day job and not work on this as a project in their spare time. You know, like that's not what I want to do with this. I want this to go forward as if, hey, I am, no joke, I am starting a company and I am hiring employees. That would be that this game would get developed under that premise. If that premise can't come true, if I can't secure the funding through investors, if I can't secure the funding through a loan or whatever, then everything that we're talked about right now just gets shelved. We go back to making the basic The Hauntings game that has been ever since I started it. And then we'll release that with the hopes that that recoups enough money that then I could then go forward with this bigger, broader plan, as well as that might, you know, attract bigger investors. Honestly, guys, what really did spur a lot of this is that one game that just came out recently in early access that was absolutely garbage. You guys know what I'm talking about. We talked about it on stream one of those times I was streaming. They received over $9 million in funding and put out an absolute turd of a game after 6 or 7 years of working on it. I see things like that, and it gives me hope that there are people like me out here who could potentially go to these investors and say, hey, like, look at what they promised and what they did, but like, I can do this better if given the opportunity to. And I think they may be willing to take a chance on something else, but I don't know. I think that whole situation was really unfortunate. I mean, you gave 18 and 19-year-olds millions of dollars. That's obviously the results you're going to come out with. But I'm hoping that doesn't, you know, put a sour taste in a lot of investors' mouths. But at the end of the day, this whole thing that I'm talking about right now, again, we're having a community discussion about it as a potential thing to move forward with the game under some sort of investment plan. You like the idea? Any crowdfunding plans so far? Not yet. My main focus right now, guys, is still on Dark Passenger. I'm still trying to get that out for you guys this month. It's going to be close. I can say that for sure. If it has to push to next month, it has to push to next month. I'm not going to murder myself over getting a game out, guys. But all of what we're talking about right now, I'm kind of wanting to put this, guys, like, I want to put this into your brains, let you guys kind of chew on it, think on it, whatever. And then while I finish up Dark Passenger, we'll sit down again once I release that and say, okay, guys, now that this idea has been floated and out in the wild for a couple weeks, what do you guys think about progressing forward with that? We may end up prototyping out the environment on stream, start prototyping out some of the gameplay mechanics of it on stream, just enough that I can probably take it to an investor and say, hey, look, this is what I've got, this is what I want to go towards, this is what I want the money for, et cetera, and see if we can get some sort of backing to it. If we can, great. We'll go out and just do a hiring spree, get people on board, and just start pushing. If not, then I will have a saved copy of what I have as the Hauntings right now. I'll have it backed up and saved on my server here. And if all of this goes to, you know, to nothing, then I load up the saved copy of the Hauntings that I have now, and we just keep working on it. I need to turn on streaming mode. Hold up, guys. Did they move it? Oh. All right, I'll read that in just a second, Corky. Let me get caught up on chat. Nana, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Redbeard Joe, hello. Lucifer, how's it going? I love the Wendigo to itch. I think I did Red Bearded Joe a long time ago. It may not be listed as free on itch though. It's free on Steam. Yes to the pet ideas. Yes, it will still be first person. The game will still be played first person. None of that stuff will change. Think of it like you're playing any other survival game out there that's first person, except for your whole goal here is to level up a character to go do investigations. You can play it by yourself, absolutely, Red Joe. You don't have to have friends. I'm just saying it is a 1 to 8 player game. You can play it just like I said, just like the Hauntings. It's just there's additional extra stuff that you'd be able to do up front. When you enter the house, will it have immediate ghost activity, or will it be progress based on ghost personality? It'll be just like it is right now, Eva. When you enter, like, say the farmhouse, right, and an entity's in there, it'll play just like it is now. The ghost will gain energy. It'll use attacks and different abilities. It'll have a personality based off whatever ghost it randomized itself to. It'll have an exorcism combination that you have to do. Everything that we have in the Hauntings right now just gets dropped and plopped into this location. What do you plan to do with filler POIs? The filler, you're talking about like the different little small towns, Huntwin? That's just where you're going to go to if you need to loot resources, and there will be shadow people and potentially possessed agents that you have to deal with at those locations. Treyori, hello, how you doing? Allison, hello. So just say someone picks priest. Will it be locked afterwards so no one else can pick that class? No, it won't be locked because there's only what, 4 or is there 5? How many? I don't know how many classes we have right now. Actually, I have to go look at it again. So it would be you can join within whatever character you want, but that character is locked to that class after you create it. You can't go back and change a priest over to a demonologist after you created it. You have to go exit the game, create a new character, and then log back in as like if you play World of Warcraft, right? And you create a rogue or something, you can't change that rogue over to a mage, right? You have to log out and create a mage and log back in. That'll be how this will go. So it won't lock it. You know, because I create a mage doesn't mean nobody else can create a mage on World of Warcraft, right? Other mages can exist. So that's the same thing here, right? If I create a priest and I start playing and I invite my friend to my server and they're also a priest, we just have 2 priests, which is the same thing that we have right now in the normal Hauntings. It's just in this case, you know, you don't have to be at the same location as each other. Is there going to be a total of 5 maps, or will there be an upgrade adding the 14 maps, 19 total? What are you talking about, Meow? There's only like 5 maps right now, but those 5 maps will be condensed into one large open world, and so there'll be a couple small POI towns that you can go for resource gathering and looting, and then there will be the locations that you drive out to do the actual investigation and cleansing and all that other stuff. Upon game completion, you have the option to restart, like you were saying, or do an arcade mode where you can fast travel to each location. Yeah, I mean, and that's something that we could also do, right? Is once you've completed each location, we can make it so it's just like the Hauntings, right? You just go into your command center. There's a little, you know, radio that you click on or something, and it teleports you out into an instanced version of the farmhouse or something like that, to where you play the game as it exactly exists right now inside the Hauntings. You don't even have to drive out to it. You can just arcade mode it, like you're saying. That could definitely be something we could add on to it. Yes, you would be able to build a base, Red Bearded Joe. So that's the idea, is when you get there, there will be like an initial little area that they set up, the command center or whatever. But the idea would be that you can then build, you know, your own temporary command center type thing that you can like expand and build out based off resources that you've gathered in the area, and bring back to your command center. That would be part of the game. Now that's not it's not necessarily required to do that. Like if you play Sons of the Forest, right, you can technically build a little base thing, right? That, or you can just go and do the storyline. Like that's how this would be. Like the base building wouldn't really be required by any mean, but it would be an option if that's something that you want to do. You know, just dealing with shadow people and going through and gathering resources and saving agents and doing that stuff. You could totally play the game just like that and just never do the investigations if you wanted to. It's more of like a sandboxy kind of thing, you know? A lot of replay value, yeah. Ruby Adventures, what's up? How you doing? I'm really far behind in chat, guys. You want this game to happen? Have Twitch integration as an option? I might consider it, but that would be maybe a little scope creepy. I think right now, that's the other thing I want to talk about, guys. So my idea to pitch this to investors would be, okay, hey, we want to do X, Y, and Z things and go into early access. And then from there, we would expand it to complete everything else. So adding something like Twitch integration, things might come into like the full launch, right? But we want to be able to get this game out in front of you guys as quickly as possible. And considering that I have a lot of these locations already built, I have a lot of the investigation portion of it is already kind of built in the Hauntings. This would just be kind of wrapping up the, bringing it into a full world type of thing and adding, some stuff like driving cars, base building, resource gathering, blah, 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 right? Like that's the stuff that would be added. To hit like an early access like build of the game, and then we could look at things like having Twitch integration, expanding the world to maybe have neighboring areas or whatever for the full release. But for at least for early access, we'll have all the 5 maps included into one larger map, into one larger world. You'll be able to go between them, complete the stuff. Like I said, you'll be blocked in by mountains, at least on one side, maybe ocean on the other side, or it might just be more mountains. And then the road will be going through like a mountain pass, and that will be blocked off as if the government has blocked off the roads, so that you're contained to this map, but gives us the potential to expand at a later date because we can just remove those blockades, and now you can go into a neighboring area or whatever, which may have different entities and different maps. So it gives us potential to grow this world later, but this would be like, for the minimum viable product, this would be what we're at here. What is the nature of longevity of this type of game? The reason survival games get interesting the more you play is the progression of tech skills, like higher tiers, skill items, leveling to get better items. Well, yeah, so you would level up, you would unlock. So we, funny enough, we were actually talking about, me and Oren were talking about Stardew Valley, and I was looking at it because this is a side tangent, but ChatGPT came out with a new beta program thing where you can generate images in DALL-E 3 from ChatGPT 3. I saw a thing on Twitter about them saying, hey, you can generate pixel art, blah, blah, blah. So I was looking at this whole idea of creating something similar to Stardew Valley in the future using this approach. But I never played Stardew Valley, so I started playing it after I talked to him. And kind of like how in Stardew Valley, there's like, there's the farming, then there's the resource gathering, and there's all this other stuff, but you unlock additional skills, you unlock things as you get higher, better crops, all that other stuff. It's kind of how like I would approach this, right? You start out with base items, you can unlock crafting items, you can then craft better items. You would level up skills in terms of ghost hunting skills, skills towards your class, and like resource gathering, base building skills, all that stuff would be the stuff that you can level up, and then you would gain different things as you level those things up. That would be the idea of it. Yes, so that was the thing that I was talking about earlier, Redbeard Joe, is that, sorry, your comment about getting survival people to join in as well. Like I said, guys, when I've pitched this idea to people like my wife, I've pitched this idea to people like, well, some of my other friends in chat, inside of DMs, and they've taken the idea to their significant others. And a lot of these people who were like, man, I don't think the Hauntings is a game I'd ever play. It's I don't like ghost hunting. It's too scary, blah, 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 whatever. As soon as I started to bring up this whole idea of the survival game aspect of it, a little bit of RPG aspect of it, they were like, oh, this went from a game that I would never play to something that I might try. And I think that's the little bit of justification so far that I've had to kind of keep brainstorming on this, is that I think that this opens the aperture for the Hauntings from the ghost hunting community to the ghost hunting community plus the survival community, which is absolutely massive right now. And they're always looking for new survival games. If you look at games that have come out like Sons of the Forest, Valheim, right, Ark, all of these kind of games are just getting massive attention. Even like, I can't remember the name of it now, but the game that failed recently has had massive attention on it for like 6 or 7 years. Obviously now they disappointed with the release, but I think that was just a situation of, just squandering money and not having good management and all that other stuff. So there's a lot of things to learn from that project, but then, it also gives you a lot of hope and a lot of appreciation to say that, like, okay, there's a lot of people out there that like this idea of a survival RPG game. And I think if you throw in that ghost hunting thing, like you're taking two pretty popular ideas and mashing them together, there could be a really good, like, perfect storm here as long as you kind of design it right. What is the expected time to beat all the ghosts in an open world game? Essentially, how long will each map last? It depends, right? Depends on if you want to focus on building up your base and saving agents, and like this is going to be more of like an open sandbox, and there are just ghosts that you can go and remove as you level up. And then, like I was saying, I think we can come up with some sort of a like compromise here where we can set up an arcade mode where you can say, I don't really care about this whole survival thing. I just want to go do investigations. And then maybe you can just do like a quick travel, like queue up a new farmhouse and just go to it. Almost instance based. I don't know. We'll see. I can't tell you there's an expected time to beat all the ghosts because it's a sandbox at that point, right? How long? I mean, I guess if you want to try to talk about like speed run times, I have no idea, right? Each map in the Hauntings was originally projected to take somewhere between 15 and 20 minutes is what I was aiming for a round of the Hauntings to be. So, I mean, if you take that, let's say 20 minutes to make math simple, and there's 5 maps, you know, that's what, like an hour and 40 minutes to at least clear each map, and that doesn't include traveling between them and doing all this other stuff and trying to figure it out. But that's even on the low side. So I'd say, I mean, it's going to be at least 2 or 3 hours, and that's if you speed run through the game. You ignore all the crafting and all that other stuff, which I don't think you'll necessarily be able to do right away because you have to craft gear that you would need to go do these investigations, especially the higher tier investigations. So you were amateur working out. Be free to explore and find the lore. Kind of, yeah. What game is it? This is an idea that we are discussing with the community right now on whether or not we should kind of pivot the Hauntings into something a little bit bigger for investment sakes, or whether or not we're kind of sticking with like the smaller scope of a game that we have as the Hauntings. Kind of, it's kind of an open discussion about an idea that I had yesterday. That's mostly what this is. It starts with K, like crap. No, I don't remember what the game's name is. Yeah, Dead Matter, that's it. Fresh idea. I'm hoping you find investors are willing with crowd finishes, right? Appreciate it, Soul. Yeah, I mean, that's the idea, right? I looked at Dead Matter. That's the game that I was thinking of. Dead Matter got over $9 million in investments, and that was from crowdfunding. They got $2 or $3 million from crowdfunding, which is crazy. They got like an additional $7 million or something like that from Tencent as an investment, and they pretty much squandered all of it. It's not free on itch. I was looking at your page. Yeah, you're good, Red Beater Joe. I don't know if I changed the price. I don't go on itch like ever, but if you go on Steam, the Wendigo's free on Steam now. Yeah, 1 to 8 players. There will be plenty of stuff to do outside the ghost hunting locations to warrant an open world survival game. If you provide a world with nothing to do, it will be good. Yes, that's the idea. And again, guys, what I would do right now is I would work on getting like a frameworked version of the game, very bare bones outline of the game, thrown together for investment purposes, taking it as a little bit of a demo, right? And saying, okay, hey, if I had a team of full people, we want to add X, Y, and Z to this town, X, Y, and Z to this town, some stuff spread out, maybe out in the forest, out in the open that you're kind of going to be able to encounter. You know, maybe there's some people that were living out in the woods, right, that evacuated for the thing, and you could come across their cabins or their trailers or whatever, and there's equipment in there that you can find that you can take back to your NPCs, and then they'll trade that equipment in for components that you need for your ghost hunting equipment, or for like full-on ghost hunting equipment, right? Maybe they give you like an audio recorder in exchange for a shotgun that you found in a trailer somewhere or something, you know what I mean? That would be kind of like the idea of how the NPCs would play into it. But you wouldn't have NPCs until you save them. So like in order to access some of this, maybe higher components, better gear, whatever, you'd have to go out and save these agents so that they can come back and exchange stuff for you. But if you want to drive to it, you can drive to it. Absolutely. A must to allow the ghost hunters to have fast in and out. Yeah. And that would be something that I think that you could unlock once you've cleansed the location once. Lewis, what's up? How you doing? Let's talk about maps on Trello. Oh, got you. yeah, the stuff that's on Trello, guys, is very, very, very dated. Don't take anything. I mean, the only thing that's up to date on Trello is the list of people who get this game for free. That's the only thing. That's another thing too. I will bring up, guys. If you've saved up the channel points on here to get a free copy, this carries over to this game as well. So don't think that, oh, I just wasted all these channel points on the original Hauntings and now this bigger game is going to be coming out. I have to go buy that one. No, whatever channel points, whatever stuff that you saved up will transfer to this. It is still the Hauntings as a whole. But yes, the other maps that are on there, Meow, those are all just future map ideas that I like the idea of creating those maps, but they weren't necessarily ever going to be originally included. Those were just like future plans. And those could be something that maybe we add those locations into this world, or like I said, once we open up the roads that maybe go into neighboring towns or something like that, maybe those can be, you know, maps that will exist in that world. Okay, yeah, you guys were all saying that. So you're finishing it. Oh, yes. So the Hauntings will be finished either way, right? We'll either finish it as it exists now by myself, which again will take however long that'll take for me as a solo dev working a full-time day job to do, or there will be this other game that we're talking about right now that will be basically we're taking everything from the Hauntings, we're plopping it into this bigger world of a game, and then hiring a team of people to work on it if we can get the investment to do so. So keep that in mind, guys. Who have published this game? I bet you Lana does it before me. I don't know. I have a really weird issue with like publishing stuff. What's up, Mikey? How you doing? Will it be different and spontaneous? Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, the way the Hauntings works right now, right, is you're playing against an AI similar to that's like in Alien Isolation. It knows where the player is at all times, but it doesn't like, it has to physically see the player to actually interact with them. But it's an AI. It's not pre-scripted. So this is not me bashing them, but a game like Demonologist, right? They went through and scripted a bunch of jump scares that happen at very specific spots. This is not like this. This is more of a, hey, I've given an AI and they have abilities to do things, and they then go down their logic trees and decide, okay, I'm going to do this right now, right? So there's no, like, they have scripted abilities, but the AI chooses when and where to use those abilities, and it's based off of whether or not they see players and all the other stuff. That's how the AI works, and that AI will still exist in this bigger game, guys, but again, those AIs are contained to their areas, right? Their levels, which will now be just one big level, right? But like, they won't leave the farmhouse, they won't leave the gold mine, they won't leave the motel, they won't leave those locations. The only thing that you can get attacked by outside of those locations will now be shadow people and possessed agents. An investigation game? Which game are you talking about, Mikey? Yeah, Dead Matter, guys. I'm really high on chat, guys, I think. Yeah, I'm a little bit behind. Let me get caught up here. Quincy, thank you for that follow. Appreciate you. Welcome on in. And Uwu, I appreciate the resub. Sorry, I was in the middle of saying something. Uwu, I don't know why your name throws me through tongue twisters. Appreciate the resub. Finally able to catch a stream. I'm glad you're able to. Crime and scene investigators. I didn't really like the scare part. I like using the tools to figure it out. Interesting. I would cautiously add that Sons of Forest is also a base building sandbox. Well, yes. I mean, that's part of what Sons of Forest is, right? But the Sons of the Forest, don't they also have like an overarching story that you're kind of going through different locations or whatever to figure out what's going on there or whatever? I'm pretty sure that's part of it. Again, I haven't played it. It would be on my to-play list if that was the case. Original Definition of Dead Matter left and they ported it over from UE5. Yeah, I saw that. We're working on another game. I can't remember the name of that game now, but I do remember seeing that the part of the dev team from Dead Matter left and they went to go work on their own game. From Steam. Awesome. Saga played open world yesterday, and it really had a lot of problems. Things that they like Devour the Last Souls, I think. But without the... It could be quite a hit. Well, that's the idea, right? I was talking... So Sonic is one of the people that I was talking to in DMs about this idea. And he did bring up something about that, but I think the main issue that he had was this whole idea of like you're traveling to different locations and then you just get locked into like an instance until the investigation is done, and then you kind of come back out of it or something. This wouldn't be like that. This would just literally be like, hey, if you go in there, there's an entity in there. You have to, you know, play like a normal Phasmo in there. But if stuff's like, oh man, this guy is way too out of our league right now, you can just walk out the front door, hop back in your car, and come back to it later. Dreamscape is thank you for the hydrate. I know I should probably hydrate. Well, thank you, Mikey. I appreciate that. Hunted Souls? All right, let me look that up. This game right here. But they're trying to get back to high quality again. I saw that, Red Beard Joe, but the problem is they're going to run out of money by, I think, November of this year, according to their own internal documents. And if they run out of money, they're not going to be able to keep working on it. And honestly, what they put on Steam right now is getting so badly review bombed and crapped on at the moment that they're probably not going to make enough funding for the early access release that they did to continue it. Thoughts on releasing the game the way it is and then adding the open world content shortly after? So the problem with that is it needs to be built into the world though, right? Like what's there would still need to be plopped into this game, right? It's not like it's just like, oh, I can just add this after. So it would require a reworking to it. I know what you're getting at with that, and I know there's a lot of people that are anxious to get their hands on the Hauntings, and I understand that aspect of this too. So it would definitely be a balancing act, and I know at the end of the day I can't please everybody, and all I can really do is I kind of look at, okay, what's gonna, in my eyes and my grand vision of things, what's gonna lead me to becoming a successful game developer that can, you know, run my own studio without having to have a day job and all this other stuff. And so I have to look at the broader scope of things. And I know at the end of the day, people are excited. They want to get their hands on it. They get frustrated when it takes longer. But this is kind of just, you know, part of this whole development cycle, especially being a solo developer, working a full-time job and just all this other stuff that kind of gets plopped on top of that. It's a lot to kind of digest through, and so it would definitely need to be taken and put into a new project with an open world designed around it, rather than trying to add an open world to the current project. Luckily, a lot of the code. Oh, okay. The other reason I was going to say this is a good time to bring this up is I'm kind of completing the rework, and by rework I mean kind of changing on how things work inside of, I guess that's a rework, inside of the Hauntings. And so it's actually at a good moment in time if I wanted to pause what I have in the Hauntings and move this into an open world project. It's a good time to do so because I have everything kind of pulled apart right now, right? And it would be really easy to put everything back together in the new project rather than trying to put everything back together in this one and then converting it into something later, if that makes any sense. Is your favorite? Yeah. It's not an extraction game, Mikey. It's a ghost hunting open world survival RPG. There's a story. Okay, yeah, it does. Okay, Sons of the Forest is your favorite. Add lore to the world to be discovered that tells backstory and explains what happened at the time of being haunted. That would be part of the explanation record, yes. I do love Sano. He's got good stuff. I'm getting caught up. Immediately State of Decay. So both of those. So 7 Days to Die, I have heard of. I have not played it, but I have heard of and seen it a little bit. State of Decay, I have not heard of and or played or seen any of that. So that's something that, like I said, I would be adding to my research list. And like I was saying, guys, we may do some like evening streams or whatever where I just say, okay, hey guys, today we're gonna check out this survival game, and so that I can make sure that if I'm reaching out to these survival gameplay players, I want to make sure that I'm adding in mechanics and features that they are accustomed to and that they want in a game like this, and not just like completely going off script, you know? If you want the goods, you have to fight for it. Yeah. You have to say to yourself, if you're not happy with the product, your passion will be half the product. Yeah. What's up, Shakespeare? It is a stream. We are discussing an idea I came up with yesterday when I was kind of taking a mental break day from puzzles. I have never thought I'd be struggling so much in my head with puzzles. After the story. So the replayability aspect, Hunt to Win, is just, continuing to gather resources. I mean, think of it of any sandbox, open world sandboxy game, right? Just trying to survive as long as you can. Those kind of aspects. And then you can also, like I said, you can take the character that you've leveled up in that world and you can reset the world if you want. And you don't have to go through all that basic progression again. You could also join your friend's world with a character that you leveled up in your own world. Yeah, what Wild Slicers is. It's still ghost hunting investigation, but there's also the survival aspect to it. If you can find the funding, it doesn't throw you in another direction without a clear end date. That's the other thing that what Frantic said there that's kind of in my head, is that every time I see one of these ghost hunting games come out, and I know it's a very small minority of people, but a lot of what starts kind of getting thrown out there is, oh, this is just a Phasmo clone. Oh, this is just another Phasmo game. Oh, is this just Phasmo? Like I hear that all the time when I'm like lurking in channels when they're playing new ghost hunting games, and the streamers do a good job of saying, well, no, it's a ghost hunting genre game, right? But it inevitably still comes around a lot that there's these people who are like, hey, this is just a clone. And I think that a game like this, that people can look at it and say, okay, I can see some stuff of Phasmo in it, but holy crap, this is its own standalone thing. It's not just a Phasmo clone. And I think there would be a lot of those comments would be eradicated from that. We talked about it again. Mikey, I'm getting closer. It was definitely a larger project than I originally scoped in my head. Now that I'm actually in the weeds and doing it, I was like, oh yeah, let's throw some puzzles together, throw some maps together. I'm still working on designing the puzzles now that I'm getting into the nitty gritty of it. Like, okay, how does this work? How does that work? There's only 10 total puzzles in the game, but I don't know. I've never designed puzzles before, and so every time I create a puzzle, I'm like, that seems too easy. And so I go back and I rework it a little bit. So it's been kind of this little bit of cycling through that, but it's getting there. Plus, there's some like overarching systems I had to build in terms of like level streaming and optimizations and all some other stuff, because you kind of play through a lot of different environments in the game. Compared to some other, it's less granular crafting system. Control over so interesting. I might have to play both of them though, Quincy, just to kind of get a feeling, you know. Blue Eyes, what's up? Happy Friday the 13th to you as well. A few modes for the world, something that would essentially be just ghost hunting plus survival, and maybe survival main, investigations minor, side quest equals easy. Possibly. A lot of that kind of detailed, like what modes will be available, how those will all play out, blah blah blah. That stuff would probably be decided once I have a team of people working on it and say, okay, hey, let's give us X amount of time to get this maybe a demo out and then into an early access release, blah blah blah. And so like I don't want to necessarily commit to saying that there will be several modes initially. I think that we might start with, hey, this is what the game is, and then if people are tending to like the investigation side more, we'll work towards releasing a more ghost hunting side mode that you can enable. And then maybe if they like the survival part of it more, we start leaning towards releasing a survival mode first. But I think just to keep things simple is we go in with this mixed bag of, hey, there's some survival crafting aspects to it, and then there's some ghost hunting aspects to it, and then there's this open world that you can explore aspect to it. And then we kind of see what the players start gravitating more towards, and then we look towards adding more modes in that direction. Because you also got to keep in mind that like it's not like this would be a game that we release and walk away from. This would be a game that we release and then are constantly kind of tweaking, adding things. I would still want to do the seasons that I talked about before. I would still want to do special events. I would still want to do maybe limited time game modes that you can do that may be instanced off or something like that you can walk up to an area and enter. That would all still be on the table. That was from the original Hauntings game. That would just be stuff that we would have to design into this bigger open world. How would so would resetting the world in a way be prestiging? More or less, yeah. It would be kind of like prestiging, right? Because it would reset everything in the world. But again, we might do something where we can reset locations back at the command center, right? Where that would be part of the initial game, right? Where you can say, hey, I want to go do the farmhouse again. Let's go back to the command center real quick. Well, let's reset the farmhouse. It'll spawn a new entity in the farmhouse, and then you can go back out to it. Phasmo X, Phasmo Y, it's the curse of the falling successful title. Yeah, like Dead by Daylight, exactly. You should change this? I know, I should change this. That probably puts a seed of that doubt in your head already. Ghost Hunting Battle Royale. Could define a new genre. It could. It really could. I see a lot more comparable aspects between this and no. Conrad's is very different than this. From what I've seen. Again, I haven't played Conrad's, but it would not be Conrad-esque. It would still be Phasmo-esque in terms of the investigations. This would just be like, take Phasmo and drop it into Sons of the Forest or, you know, a game like that. That's more along the lines of what this would be. Who can find the correct ghost first? For what part of that? Right, Blue Eyes. There's a new open world with a heavy story based, and it does very well. CSPPI. I have no idea what that is. I think having a unique art style would also be a high priority. No, Quincy, we would be keeping the exact same aesthetic that we have in the Hauntings now, which is a more realistic looking thing. Because it's one of the things that I heard about with Sons of the Forest is a lot of people were like, man, it looks really good, but it was made in Unity, right? And they were like, man, imagine if we were to make a Sons of the Forest type of game in Unreal 5. And that's kind of what this would be, right? Is we're making like a larger open scale world in Unreal 5. And we would keep, like I said, all the art that we have now, all of the levels and all of that stuff that we are using right now in the Hauntings would be picked up and dropped into this world. So the aesthetic would still be very much so realism. Resetting select POI. Just use the idea of cultist or practitioners recursing or summoning something else. That would have to tie into however this area got what sort of paranormal event took off in the first place. So it could be that we have like a cult that came through and they botched some sort of ritual thing that they were doing and it released all this stuff upon this area. I don't know. Saying I can't hunt ghosts dressed as a rubber chicken. I mean, so here's the thing. With investments and with publishers or crowdfunding even, especially with crowdfunding. Let's start with crowdfunding. If we do the crowdfunding route, crowdfunding a lot of time as a goal, or not a goal, whatever they call it, reward. A lot of those will say, hey, you get a copy of the game if you back us at this tier, right? So a lot of the money that you would make from those people from when you release the game has already been made from the crowdfunding, right? It's kind of almost like early, like pre-ordering the game, right? So in order to continually generate revenue going forward after that, that's where you have things like cosmetics and, you know, other little things that you can like purchase through the game. Maybe there's building patterns you can get or whatever. I don't know, for the building system. But whatever it may be, there's little microtransaction-y things that you can add in later to a game. I know a lot of people they scoff at it. I've already kind of like internally come up with a number in my head that like I will never sell a cosmetic for more than $4.99. And that would be like a top tier cosmetic, right? I see a lot of these companies coming out where there's like $30-$40 for a cosmetic, and it's like, that sounds ridiculous. I think most of my stuff is anywhere going to be from the 99 cent to $4.99 on cosmetic, and then just, you know, letting that go over a quantity of people, rather than trying to say, hey, we're going to get one person to pay us the same amount that they paid for the game for this cosmetic. That just seems ridiculous. So that's something that I've internally said. Now, again, if I bring in investors, that might not be something that I can control. A lot of times when you bring in investments, they have a say in certain things, and monetization is obviously their forefront on their mind because that's how they're going to recoup their money. So, again, I would stand up to argue that and say that I don't think we should go above $4.99. I think that would set a really good precedence inside of game development as a world. Just saying, like, hey, like this skin that we add should not cost more than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. You know what I mean? It should not be a whole nother video game's worth of cost just so that they can look a special way or whatever. So anyways, that's my little rant on that. But I forgot what this game is on my screen. But anyways, that's kind of the idea, right? Is that we would go through, do some crowdfunding, investments, whatever, recoup that through initial game sales, and then continue to fund things through potential microtransactions that are limited, not massively overdone, just so that we can continue development cost on this thing there. Again, who knows? The Hauntings might take off. It might sell millions of dollars worth of stuff, and then the investors are like, okay, cool, that was awesome. What's the next game that you want to do, right? And then we keep a team working on the Hauntings while I, squirrel off my brain, as you guys know, into something else. So that's all like, when you sit there and you buy a lottery ticket and you say, oh, I'm going to win billions of dollars on this lottery ticket, and you start dreaming about all the things you're going to do with the money. None of that's real until you actually win, right? So that's kind of what some of that talk is about right now, right? Of like future planning things. None of that matters until we get the initial game done. So we can theory craft about all that at the end of the day, but that's not like what today's stream is for. Lurking back under your rock. Okay, Frantic, appreciate you. All right, but 20 plus for a simple skin is, yeah, right? That's what I'm saying. You got to have a middle ground between current haunt and open world concept. I haven't really thought of a middle ground. Again, guys, keep this in mind. Everything that we talked about just now, right? Everything that we went over, everything I discussed, all these ideas that I kind of dropped on the table are literally the things that I thought of in the last, 2 days. I needed a mental break from Dark Passenger, and I just took the last 2 days to, I watched some scary movies yesterday. I did day job stuff. I just didn't focus on game development. And that's where these ideas started popping in my head was, man, if I had a team of people working on things right now, things could still be getting done while I focus on other aspects of the studio. I focus on other things, and I don't have to constantly have my mind just wrapped into game development. Because as a solo game developer, you are the marketing team, you are the developer, you are the level designer, you are the, animator, you are the everything. And it starts to become overwhelming very quickly, especially when you start looking towards games like the Hauntings that is, even in its current state, it is a bigger scale game. Now, obviously, this would make it even bigger, but my idea is that this bigger vision would only happen in the instance that we receive funding to hire a team of people so that I can then go and say, hey, your job is animation, your job is art, your job is programming, your job is, blah, 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 right? And then I give tasks and assign stuff, and then it's more, I can work on development stuff, but then I can also step back and say, okay, hey, how is the marketing going, right? How is the art going? How is this going? Okay, hey, here's some tasks that I think we should work on now. Why don't you fix that? Here's some, I can manage a bit, but then I can then dive back into development. So I can kind of come in this, out of this, instead of trying to focus my ADHD brain on art, programming, marketing, trying to generate social media content for streaming and building up a YouTube channel. And my brain doesn't have to try to focus on all of that, right? All at one time. Gotta drain them whales. So in terms of what your question there, Hunt to Win, I don't think there is a middle ground between the two. I think there's very much the Hauntings as it exists and this open world Hauntings, and it's it's an either or type of deal, I think. I think what would happen is in the case that I don't get the funding for the open world and we do what the Hauntings is currently, is that this open world game just gets put on the shelf until we can use money from the Hauntings to come back and say, okay, we have the Hauntings and now we have the Hauntings world. I don't know. or whatever, World of the Hauntings. You know, it's an open world game. There's a World of Warcraft reference, so you get it. Anyways, so that's very much so like going to happen. But everything that I talked about will happen at some point. It just means that it will be whether or not the Hauntings is successful enough for me to self-fund this open world thing, or if I can put a good enough prototype together that I can get investors and crowdfunding and things that can go into it that I can pay people, that we can just work on the open world version of the Hauntings now. Oh, Comic Book can easily do that because they know people will pay that much for cosmetic. Indie games will get trashed. Yeah, no, I would never charge that much. Even if I feel like even if I was a game like COD or Fortnite or a Blizzard game or whatever, like it just feels like. Okay, let me put it to you this way: inflation would have to get so bad that video games themselves would have to be worth like $200 for me to like consider saying that I'm going to charge $20 for a skin, because even that is at 10% of the cost of the game. You know what I mean? Like, it just feels asinine to say, hey, we made years of work into this whole entire video game, right? And you pay, let's say you pay AAA prices at like $70 for the game or whatever, right? And then we have a freaking skin that took an artist a week maybe to add, and all of a sudden now they want you to pay almost the same as price that they paid for a game that's been in development for years. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. What's up, Dr. Elliott? Welcome back. I would do so much research on maintaining control of your company and vision before approaching investor scum. Yes. I mean, there's a whole learning curve that would have to be gone through there, Mikey, right? But I think that, like, being afraid to act and afraid to approach that route of success because of afraid of losing control or whatever, I would rather learn a lesson and be able to put out something that people are going to enjoy to play, even if I don't make much money on it myself because investors take control over it or whatever. Because that's the thing, guys. Like, I don't think an investor is going to shut me up, right? Like, if I brought an investor in and they're like, no, we are charging $40 for a skin, blah, 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 and they say all this stuff and we have to do it because they're the investor, I will go to Twitter and be like, guys, this is not my idea. I want you guys to know this right now. I have lobbied hard against this, but the investors are the ones pulling the strings at this point, and I don't have that control. I will go to Twitter and say that shit. Like, I don't give a shit if that's, like, they will not be, that will be part of my investment deal with them, is I'll be like, at no point will you be able to silence me as an individual. But if they're the ones paying for things and they're the ones, you know, doing the stuff, then it's kind of hard for me to, I would lobby at it, but it would be ultimately, you know, their decision at the end of the day. Such language. I know, right, Eva? World of Haunting Survivor Evolved, yeah, right? I've been wanting to since 2012, feel free to let me make the world. So that's another thing. You brought up a point, Wrecker. What I might do with this, to be honest, is I might open it up to the community as well and say, hey, if we go this route, guys, who's good at, like, world building? Not necessarily going into the editor and saying, oh, I'm going to create the environment, but more so in the sense of, like, if I were to say, hey, here's a piece of paper, like, draw out where you think the mine should be, where the motel should be, where, like, you know, the ocean and the mountains should be, what should be this little town, like, how should the road system look? Like, if somebody's really good at that stuff, I struggle with world building in that aspect. Like, I can kind of start piecing things together, but I'm very much, like, in the engine kind of being like, let's drag something through here. I guess that works. Let's go this way, right? Like, I don't ever have a blueprint to follow, and I think it takes me 10 times longer to develop a map because of that, but that's just my own personal issue. So I might open it up to the community being like, hey, whatever we name this place, right? Let's say, like, X, whatever the name of this town is or this area. What do you guys envision this looking like on a piece of paper? And then maybe we either pick a winner or we mesh ideas from people and we come up with a map. So I'm bad at that. Steven, what's up, buddy? How you doing? Just having the right quivers in your arsenal? Yeah. Such language. Really ruins it. They do. They do. But you also guys have to remember, at the end of the day, it's a business, right? And to make money, you have to spend money. If you do not have money to spend, you need to go find somebody who has money to spend, right? I would rather go the investor route because the investor takes on the risk in that scenario, right? The last route that I would probably go, and again would be very sketchy, and I don't know if I would or not, would be the business loan route, right? Because in that aspect, I'm taking on not only the full risk, but like, you know, having interest and all this other stuff start to pile up, you're starting to potentially lose money that you could be gaining. Whereas an investor, they put up the money up front to have a portion of the company that they own. And then that way, you know, the risk is kind of spread out to either multiple investors or people who have the money to lose, if that makes sense. And I can act a little bit more freely, and we're not piling up interest, right? They're just holding on to an equity in the company. Not Ogremar. They can try to pull it out from you as well. What, the game? Did you answer the question I asked about earlier? How did it work with 8 players? I didn't see that question actually, Dev. I'm sorry. What do you mean by how would it work with 8 players? You would have one main base. One main base that you guys would be building together. There would be NPCs that you can go and save. You can choose to investigate together and explore together. You can choose to spread out. 8 people can go investigate the farmhouse together. Like I said, you're not locked into the level once you go into a farmhouse. You literally can walk in and be like, oh, we don't need all 8 of us here. Like me and the other couple of guys, we're gonna go, you know, do a supply run down in the blah 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 town, right? And obviously only 4 people can sit in a car, so you'd have to find 2 cars or take 2 cars or whatever. You can drive out to separate locations. Like I would probably do proximity chat so that you guys can only talk on proximity. Maybe there'll be a radio. I don't know. Maybe that's something you guys can upgrade to. I don't know. Again, a lot of the little details like that are still something that I would have to iron out and plan out, right? Right now, I'm looking at the big chunk features of, okay, what could I put together in a very, very, very skeleton bare bones build to kind of sell the idea so that I can get the funding to hire the people to work on it. But in terms of like the nitty gritty details of how 8 players would work, it would still have to be, you know, baked into each feature of the game. I gave up classes on equity in Facebook. That gives him control even with the minority interest of the company. Interesting. Shark Tank power pop pitch. Interesting, Mikey. Well, stuff like that would definitely be, you know, good skills and good stuff to learn. And like I said, at the end of the day, I never looked at the Hauntings as a, oh, this is my, you know, retirement game. I'm going to make this game and I can go sit on a beach somewhere. I mean, you'd be stupid not to sit there and think that, oh, hey, this could go Phasmophobia level success and you know, what would I do in that instance? But I mean, I've been very grounded as to what I feel like the Hauntings will achieve overall, and I do think it, in its current state, would be very much enough to fund at least an initial round of a studio. But I think stepping into this slightly bigger world opens the aperture to a lot more people, and I think that it could bypass a step in that whole development process. You know. I appreciate it, Mikey. Sorry, just responding to my message. Okay, so what is this game right here? The Devour of the Hunted Souls is what you guys were saying is a open world like game. Did you hire someone to work on the environment if they were like 90%? Wait, only going to use assets already created. So it depends, Wrecker. It may be like a 2-person team. Right? It may be like, okay, one person's in the level creating the actual world, and the other person's creating the assets. It all, again, will break down based off of, you know, the number of people. Again, it comes down to the amount of funding you get, right? The number of people that you can hire, and whether or not you're going to have to put that responsibility on one person to create models and the world, or to just create the world and have a separate person for the models. Like all of that is still very much, you know, up to depending on how much investment we get. Because you never know. It could be that we find a publisher or something like that that's like, yeah, we'll fund this whole entire thing, blah, 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 whatever. And we have people that do X, Y, and Z thing. We'll assign them to your thing. Because there are publishers out there that have like a crew of artists and programmers and all this other stuff, and as part of their publishing a game, they bring forth the talent to do it, which sometimes is a good thing, right? Because those publishers might be like, okay, hey, there's a certain level of quality that we want in our published games, and we have a staff of people that we know that can produce that quality. We're just going to assign them to your project. Making creative designing an open world game. Well, that's part of this, right? This game is a whole forest that has locations, it seems. Yeah, some do. Yeah, specifically a mountain town. Yeah. So again, it all comes down to how I want to design it, but it'll be either like a coastal town, right? So there's some towns along a coast that have mountains behind it that have roads that are blocked off, so that you can only go between the little small towns that are there. Or this will be like kind of like in a bowl in the mountains, right? Where there's mountains that surround all around it, and there's like 2 roads or whatever that kind of go through the towns, and those roads would get blocked off, so that basically I have to contain the players to an area, and I have to have some sort of physical reason why they're contained to this area. Who just texted me? Oh, okay. Just an energy bill. So yes, it would be, some of it would be forested, some of it would be, you know, a small town that's cleared with, like, you know, little shops and stuff like that. But everything will be not abandoned. It'll just be like people were there just a couple days ago, right? But the government has evacuated everybody to deal with this issue. A nice mansion on a mountaintop? Possibly. Again, right now, the main goal right now is to take the current existing maps in the Hauntings and drop them into this world, so that it wouldn't take me a whole bunch of time to redesign where the entities are, right? It would be more spent on time designing the world around this, and then those areas would already exist. So something like a mansion would be really cool to add to the mountaintop. However, it's not currently already made as a level. So that could be something that, again, we'd be adding via an update or something. It's easier to contain things with a mountain range than a coastal town, because you can block the coastal road about the land around it. Yeah. Again, I'm not set on the total environment. I just was kind of in my head spitballing around the idea of, do I want to use like an ocean on one side to contain them? Do I want to use mountains to contain them? Do I want to use both? I just knew I didn't want to do an island. That's the only thing I knew I for sure did not want to do, was an island. I don't think I want to do anything like that just yet, Quincy. It kind of goes against the story and the lore that I'm building for this world. But I would not be against doing stuff like that for special events and or limited time things. But again, that would be kind of, again, going outside the scope of what I would want to do with this. Because again, for right now, we have to kind of keep things scoped to a certain amount so that it's releasable within a quick enough timeline. And again, that timeline is all dependent upon the amount of investment it gets, the amount of features that we want to put into the initial release. And it would be a game, because I looked at, like I said, I looked at Stardew Valley last night, right? Stardew Valley took 4.5 years to make, and it's been released for like 6 years or something. And they've been doing updates throughout that whole entire time. So what you see as Stardew Valley today was not what was released in Stardew Valley 6-ish years ago, or whatever it was. And they've just been expanding it. That's kind of what I'm envisioning for this game, is that, we would spend some time developing it, we would release it, and then we would spend, X amount of time going forward updating it and continuing to expand it until we reached a point where I felt comfortable with that being the complete game, and then we would release that completely, and then we would either focus on, kind of expanding the universe or maybe another game completely or something at that point. Live travel between... No, it'd be live travel, Quincy. So the way the world it would exist is you would hop in the Impala that sits out in front of all the levels right now. You would hop in the car and you would drive out to the farmhouse. You would drive out to the mines. You would drive out to the location and then go investigate it. I just don't want people to immediately associate this with the idea of that the zombie survival games have, where there's going to be zombies attacking you on your way while you're there. There won't be anything like that. There'll just be POIs that you can stop at along the way to these locations where you might be able to scavenge for goods and all this other stuff. And there will be shadow people that can spawn and attack you, but they won't be just out openly in the world. And again, I don't think that we're not talking I'm not talking about making some absolutely massive scale world, guys. It's not going to take you 15 minutes of real lifetime to drive across the map, right? But it's also not going to be walk outside the command center and boom, the level's right there, right? There's going to be some travel time between it, but there's not going to be, a massive map that you have to navigate to try to find these things. And like we said earlier, maybe after you've cleansed an area, you can do replayability wise, you can reset the farmhouse and then fast travel to it, and then just do an investigation right away, and then it fast travels you back to the command center afterwards. But that would be after you've completed all of the levels or all of the different locations. Has ship travel that's very boring because nothing happens while sailing. Gotcha. Yeah. And that, again, that type of stuff is what we'd have to look into as terms of, okay, how can we spice up going from A to B, or make it more interesting for these different aspects of the game. But I think, honestly, if you build the world big enough and small enough at the same time, I know it's kind of weird to say, right? Big enough to feel okay, everything's not I can just walk out this door and I can just run there in 2 seconds. Like there's a use to using the car, but also not something that you're going to be sitting in the car for 15 minutes as you drive out to a location, Because you also got to keep in mind, there is going to be a whole hunger system and thirst system, your fortitude system, all of that stuff is going to be systems that you have to manage like any other survival games. So you have to bring food with you and stuff out onto these investigations as part of your inventory, because if not, then you could, pass out in the investigation and whatever, and then we'll have to figure out what we want to do with you at that point. Also, really, guys, I guess it depends on, comes down to whether or not you're playing hardcore or softcore mode. Reminded me of the radio station view. I don't want to stop driving because they were so good. See, that's the other thing, right? Is you also got to keep in mind that you can't have a game that's just. I feel like that's one thing I've noticed in that Dead Matter game is they tried to pack so many zombies in there, so that like the whole idea of that game was that you just had to constantly deal with zombies, right? And like there was no moment to kind of be like, okay, hey, I'm just driving from A to B, like I can breathe for a second, right? So we got to keep that in mind too, because like let's say what happens if you go into the farmhouse and you have like a really like crazy experience in there or whatever, let's just say, and you're freaking out. It might be good to just be like, okay, guys, that was crazy. I'm done. Like, let's just get in the car. Let's drive back to the command center really quick, and let's just chill for a moment. Like, you might need that chill moment where you don't want to be like, okay, let's get in the car. And now we have to like, constantly fight off shadow people and a bunch of other stuff while we're just trying to get from A to B. I really think that the shadow people are going to be more involved when you're actually out scavenging for resources, stuff that you can trade with the NPCs, all that stuff. That's where you're going to deal with shadow people. The possessed agents, you'll probably find them kind of scattered throughout like the open world, just so that it's kind of more like, okay, there's some kind of thing that I can do, but it's also beneficial because if I save them, they'll go back to the command post. But then it's a fine line to balance, and I guess again it all comes down to the scale of the world, the amount of travel in between it, and then like the different activities that you're doing, all that good stuff. Well, yeah, I mean, if you have 1,600 hours in a game, like I could understand like wanting to just get to the next thing, right? Like you're like, I don't want to do this, I want to do that. Sorry, just messaging somebody. As long as there's something like the radio station, it doesn't have to be ghosts trying to rip you from the car. True. And then you never know. That could be a fun way to like get the community involved. Who I know there's several people, especially people that have come over from like Deadmau5's stream that like to produce their own music. I could be like, hey guys, if anybody wants to produce some music that plays on all the different radio stations, feel free. We'll do it as a community event or whatever, and we can put those into the game. And maybe we'll have prizes or rewards or whatever for the community event. Say, X amount of money to the people who get selected for the thing, whatever. Because I don't know if it would be beneficial to use investment money to say, hey, we're going to hire a full-time music designer for a game that doesn't really have a whole lot of music in it. You know what I mean? So like I'd want to put that money towards art, world building, programming, that kind of stuff. God, my throat. Could the shadow people come to your command post? I think the command post, the command post, I think at the beginning is going to be very small until you build it up as you upgrade it. But I think you would probably have it warded off so that when you're inside the command post, you'd be safe. Would be my assumption. A library to learn more about the area, activities, and stories. I don't know if it would be a library area necessarily. I think what we could do, Hunt to Win, is we could maybe do research through supply drops. So once you reestablish communications with Directive 7 Bravo, they can start dropping in supply drops for you that you have to go out and find and pick up. And maybe inside the supply drops, there could be some research aspect to it, like you're expanding information about that you're getting from Directive 7 Bravo in those supply drops. Maybe would be how I would probably approach that, rather than there being like a library in some random town somewhere that has information about what's going on there. That's just a random event that's, you know, the government's trying to cover up. Like, I don't think like that would make sense gameplay wise, but I think having it in the supply drops would make more sense. What's the next step? Well, right now, so all of this is just brainstorming right now, right? Like I said, this is something that's come up into my brain the last 2 days. I'm wanting to get it out to you guys as a community to get your thoughts, your feedback, whether or not you know, hey, thumbs up, this sounds like a good idea. Like, I'd be, you know, behind that idea, or like, nah, just, you know, I don't like this whole open world. Like, just do like the Hauntings, right? Like, that's what I was trying to get from you guys, is to kind of get like, you know, gauge the temperature on the idea. But I'm going to let this kind of simmer, and it's going to be decided upon what I'm going to do once Dark Passenger is out. So Dark Passenger, guys, if you guys haven't been around lately or whatever, Dark Passenger is a single player horror game that takes place in the same universe as the Hauntings, that I'm trying to get out for October 31st. We'll see. I have a work trip coming up at the end of the month, guys, and I have some day job stuff that's been more than I expected lately. So it has slowed me down the last couple of weeks, and I know I'll be out of town for almost a week at the end of the month, which is unfortunate because it's like right during when I was wanting to release this, but neither here nor there. So the idea is that I'm going to continue and finish up Dark Passenger. I'm going to go through, I'm going to release it, fix the bugs in it, whatever, kind of get that out there as a solid project. And then we'll readjust this idea together as a community now that you guys have been exposed to it. You had time to think on it. Maybe, you know, had some more questions pop up, whatever. And then we'll make a decision once Dark Passenger's out. Okay, hey, I'm going to take what the Hauntings is right now. I'm going to save a copy. I'm going to back up a copy of that onto my server. And then I'm going to start prototyping out this framework. We probably will do some of it on stream, to be honest, because it's not something that I would need to necessarily keep secret at that point, especially if we're going to push towards any kind of crowdfunding and or investors. Like, having that repository of public VODs would probably be helpful. And so we might start working on it on stream at that point, to push towards that idea. And then we'll have the backup version of it on my server here that is like, okay, if this is just not going to happen, we can just say, okay, well, we tried. Go back to what the Hauntings was originally, and I'll have a copy of it, just kind of pick it right back up from where I left it. Fake radio commercials, that would be awesome. Is it on Steam? It's just the regular Hauntings on Steam, Soul. So the link that just popped up from Stream Elements a few seconds ago on Steam there, it's the same. It's going to be the Hauntings. I'm not going, that one right there, actually, that just popped up in chat. It's funny. That link that just popped up right now, that's the same store page, the same everything. I know it's been up for a while. I know it's been listed as coming soon or whatever for a while. That's where it will release, is right there. Yeah, if you already have it wishlisted, you don't have to do anything. It'll be the same game. The idea is that we'll update the Steam page, we'll update all that stuff. Psycho! Happy Friday 13th as well. Psycho, did you hear the idea? Did you hear the news? You would be a person that I'd actually very much so like your input on. I'll let you respond real quick. Because I think you actually might be genuinely interested in this idea, considering... Yeah, okay, so I'm going to give you the 5-minute rundown. We've been talking about this for 2 hours, so I'm not going to give you the 2-hour edition, but I'll give you the 5-minute elevator pitch, okay? So I'm still working on Dark Passenger, the Hauntings Dark Passenger, right? Which is a single-player game for Halloween. Still working on that, going to release it. But I want to get this idea in people's heads so they can start thinking through it. What I'm thinking about doing, there's a reasoning behind it. I don't need to get into it right now. I can DM you about it if you want to talk about it. But the idea is to take what I currently have as the Hauntings and build out a framework around it where I take the 5 levels that are in the Hauntings right now, and I'm going to build it into a open world. So here's the quick pitch. It'll be a ghost hunting open world ghost hunting survival RPG. So the idea is that you come in as an agent because there's a paranormal event that took place. They evacuated the towns. There was a group of Directive 7 Bravo agents that were there already, but they stopped communicating. You show up to try to figure out what's going on. You and up to 8 of your friends. It's a 1 to 8 player game. And they are not there, so you can continue to build up the command center so there will be base building. There's resource gathering from the towns. You can go around and find the agents that were there that got possessed, and then you can perform exorcisms on them to save them from the possession, and then they become NPCs in your main command post. The 5 levels that are in the Hauntings right now will be put into this open world game, so there will be the gold mine still, the farmhouse, all those maps will still exist. They'll just be in the open world. And then there will be little small towns that you can go and scavenge for resources that you can then trade with the NPCs that you unlock to build up your base bigger. When you create a character, you pick a class and a character model, and then you start leveling up that character like an RPG. You get crafting skills. You can craft your own paranormal equipment. You can do so through trading through the NPCs that you get, or you can find components around the world. And then the idea is that there's one entity per level, right? So the farmhouse, the gold mine, the campgrounds that you can travel out to and it'll be exactly the same as the game is right now. You do an investigation there. You can do the exorcism there. All that's exactly the same. The only difference is it's in an open world now. And there is base building, resource gathering, and other survival mechanics like health, like food and water that you have to manage, and then other things while you build up your base and try to cleanse these 5 locations. And then once you do that, you can reset the world, kind of like prestiging. You would reset the world, but you can keep your character that you've leveled up. So now you can go into a fresh world with a higher level character, start building your base again, and then do the investigations again, and it's kind of a looping thing. Or you can just do the survival mode of it. You can just do the ghost hunting modes of it. That's kind of where I'm thinking about taking the Hauntings. And this is all just brainstorming right now for 2 reasons. One, investors, honestly, I've tried to sell the idea of a regular ghost hunting game to investors. They're not as interested in it. But the second you start throwing in the words survival, RPG, open world, base building, crafting, you start throwing those words into it, and all of a sudden a lot of investors are very, very open to discussions. So this is a way to potentially hire a team of 10 people to work on this more open world crafting survival version of a ghost hunting game rather than what I currently have. NPC base building system scream state. I guess I need to look at State of Decay, Quincy, because I've never seen it. So so that's not a complete departure, right? Everything that's in the Hauntings right now will still be in this game. It'll just get migrated into a bigger open world. So don't think of it as a complete departure. Think of it as the Hauntings that exists right now, just with more around it. Rather than it being like, you go to the lobby, you select a map, you do an investigation, right? Because that's another thing that I've noticed is a lot of these ghost hunting games that come out that are like that, they'll play them for a little bit, but then they immediately go back to Phasmo afterwards, right? These don't have any longevity. They don't have any hooks. They don't have any reason to keep playing it beyond trying it. This is a brand new idea of just saying, hey, let's throw that game loop out the window for a second, and let's put this into a bigger, more open game world. Because not only now do I have the people who are excited about ghost hunting involved in this, but I also have this very, very large player base of people who are interested in base building and survival that will now all of a sudden be interested in this, and then be like, oh, hey, I could do this ghost hunting thing on top of it. You know what I mean? So it's like an RPG. Like I said, it's a open world ghost hunting survival RPG game. That's like the headline of it. How would you fill it so it doesn't feel too empty? So that's what I was saying. So in the small towns where you go to gather resources, so there's going to be what I call shadow people. In the Hauntings lore, shadow people are not are entities that were not actual people to begin with. They're more like demons. And they are attracted to entities which were people at one point. So like Larry, all of the character models that I have as ghosts that you would investigate in the hauntings, those were people at one point that died some sort of tragic death, right? Shadow people are just more things that are attracted to entities. So they got pulled here because there's these entities in this location. However, their whole existence, like Mr. Meeseeks, right, are just, they only exist to help these entities. And if they don't help the entities, they get consumed by the entities as energy. So they don't want to die, so they try to take human energy and feed it to these entities so they don't die. So they attack you and all that stuff. So the entities are locked to their location like they would be in the hauntings, but shadow people are all over the world, right? So you would have to go out to these towns to scavenge for resources and all this stuff, and you're dealing with shadow people that can spawn and attack you while you're there. However, when you're doing the investigation portion of the game, they don't want to get too close to the entity, otherwise the entity will consume them. So they will not attack you while you're investigating. You'll just deal with entities inside of the investigation locations. However, when you're gathering resources, you're building your base, you're saving AI, agents and all this other stuff, you'll have to deal with shadow people in that area. So that's kind of the idea, is that you go between survival against that, almost like a zombie survival game, right? You have zombies that you have to deal with. In this case, it's more shadow people, but they're not going to just be openly walking around the world like zombies do. They spawn in, right? They manifest to attack you while you're scavenging. So that's kind of how you fill that part of the world. And then when you're inside doing the investigation, like I said, it's just like the Hauntings is right now. You're just doing an investigation against the entity inside there, like a Phasmophobia game, right? You go into a level, you're just dealing with that entity. That's what it would be like inside the farmhouse, the diner, the gold mine, the campsite, or the motel, right? Those are where you're dealing with the entities. But the shadow people are everywhere else in the world while you're resource scavenging. So that's how I kind of fill the rest of it, you know what I mean? But it's like an open world sandbox. Like a lot of these other survival games are, you get to choose where you want to build stuff. You get to choose, you know, what like unlock paths you go, what crafting materials you find, like all of that stuff's randomized. So it's an open world sandbox that has ghost hunting as well as, you know, the other survival mechanics. Imagine if all the maps in Phasmo were one world, accessible by car, and you can drive walk to them. More or less, yeah. That seems the way most of the games, the Twitch flavor of the month, and then they go away. Yeah. Who are these investors? Don't have to say their name. It's a little mix of a lot of different things, Grandson. So I have some of them are publishers, right? Some of them are just venture capitalists. Some of them are banks. Just different things that I'm approaching, different large scale investors. But a lot of them, they're not interested in just like a straight up ghost hunting game. People want to come back to a good game, yeah. We like the houses with a marked door that shows what houses are haunted, need help, so there's more houses that fill up the space that can't be accessed. Yeah, so that's what I was thinking for initial, is I was gonna build up like little neighborhoods and stuff like that, and then just have those doors be like boarded up, like the people who left boarded up their houses so that like people like looters wouldn't get into them, and that way I don't have to fill out every single house. But like a lot of the storefronts and stuff like that, you'll be able to get into and all that stuff. So it's not like I have to fill out every single part of the level. Grandson, no, they invest in all sorts of games. Like we were talking about earlier, that Dead Matter game got over $9 million worth of investments. And they were 18 and 19-year-olds coming up with a survival idea, and they put out a game recently that was actually really, really bad. Addressing this issue exactly, I'm not sure if you really need base building and survival. Kind of makes honest. Sounds like you just want to throw everything in there, but nothing fleshed out. So I understand what you're saying. Again, I want to preface this, guys, right now that this is not being the way forward for the Hauntings at the moment. This is, I took a break from working on Dark Passenger the last day or so, and it was just something that kind of popped into my head as I was kind of reaching out to different investment things that, you know, the kind of the feelings I saw, plus looking at what is being funded right now, a lot of it is open world survival games. And so this is all just kind of like, hey, brainstorming, putting it to the community. Because again, I don't want to make it sound like, oh, work is doing it right, whatever. But like, you look at a lot of companies, like, let's just bring up the Unity thing that happened recently. They tried to enact a change without addressing the community about it. And look at what happened, right? They freaked out about it. So instead of me coming out and saying, hey guys, this is what the Hauntings is now, I'd rather come into you guys and say, hey, what do you guys feel about this idea? Take some time, think over it. I'm going to go finish Dark Passenger. Once we release Dark Passenger, we'll sit back down again together and you guys can say, okay, I've thought about it. This is what I think, right? And then I can look at the community as a whole and I can say, okay, yep, let's try this thing. Let's try to get some investment money and try to go down this bigger route. Or, hey, you know what? The community is really resistant to this idea. Let's just make it the way the Hauntings was originally planned to be. We'll call it good. And then, I can move on to a different style open world survival game or whatever. Like that's the whole approach I'm taking to this right now, guys. So nothing that we talk about today is set in stone. Everything that we're talking about today is just to put it out to you guys and say, what do you think about this? That's all today is about. Ghost attack you? Yeah. I see it. Is that Phasmo is the right place, the right time? And it scrolled off my screen. And gave what the masses wanted. Lighthearted horror game with minimum system requirements, but solid game. God damn it. Gameplay loop for anybody to understand. That's why people are returning to it, because other copies simply don't improve on the concept. True. And I mean, originally that was what the whole Hauntings was, right? Was to try to improve on the concept of what Phasmophobia was. But I've seen so many of these games coming out in the ghost hunting genre right now that, like you're saying, either don't really improve on the concept or they don't really push the concept in a different way. And I think there's a lot of people that are kind of getting like, okay, it's a ghost hunting game. Like, what's new about it, right? And I think if I kind of merge this whole open world survival thing that's going crazy right now with this idea of ghost hunting, it brings a new fresh like take on it that people might be like, okay, well, I like this because now it's not just ghost hunting, it's other stuff too, but I still get that like that fix of ghost hunting if I want it, you know what I mean? First one, discovering, collecting, and then there's us who tend to the base. I love doing both, but and that's the thing, is not everybody has to go to investigation, right? This is a 1 to 8 player game is what I was thinking about doing. We might lower it to 5, I don't know, but the idea is that like you can stay back at the base and continue building the base or going out and gathering resources and just dealing with shadow people, while your other teams, they're like, okay, hey guys, we're gonna go investigate the farmhouse, try to exercise that thing, and then we can get a bunch of resources and experience and stuff out of doing that. So like you can have like a split efforts. You don't all have to go to the farmhouse and investigate at the same time. You all can, absolutely, right? But you can have people scavenging for stuff, building the base up, increasing, your guys' crafting level at your base and blah, blah, blah. They could be doing all this additional stuff while your friends are out investigating. Well, I have a question for you, Psycho. I know you're saying like, why do you need base building? Why do you need base building in Sons of the Forest? There's people out there that build like these massive bases in that game. For what reason, right? I mean, in Sons of the Forest, isn't it? You just go through. There's a whole storyline, a linear playthrough that you can go through and go to different locations and do stuff. But yet, people still build bases in that game, right? Dead Matter got destroyed, yeah. But the thing with Dead Matter, I mean, they got like $9 million worth of investments. They spent 6 or 7 years developing the game to put out just absolute turd of a game. Is just kind of crazy, right? But I think it's because, these 18, 19-year-olds, when they first started, were able to really play along with they not play along. They really they struck a chord, right, with a large number of people who were like, yeah, I want this open world survival-y kind of game. And I've seen it time after time right now. You have games like that. There's Rooted. There's, all of these other Sons of the Forest, what's that other one? Not Apex. Ark. Like all these other games that are like these big open sandboxy type games. I think if you just took sandbox and you added horror to it, I think that would strike a chord with both the people who like horror and the people who like these open world sandbox survival games, Van campers, yeah, absolutely. Let them play. Is the next top Enshrouded? That sounds really familiar, Quincy. I just don't know what it is. I think I saw some people playing it maybe last night. She wants to play. She can't handle it sometimes. And that's the thing, right? Let's say you want to play with people, right? But they can't handle doing the investigation part because they're just van campers. Like, it's too scary to go in there. Well, let the person who wants to do the scary stuff go in there. Let the other person go back and gather resources and build the base and start leveling up the crafting, you know, stuff. So that when they come back, they're like, hey, like, cool, like, you got us a bunch of experience and resources and all this other stuff from that ghost that you just got rid of. But, like, I was over here and I was doing all this crafting stuff, and I got our crafting skills up high enough, so now we can go craft, you know, like better equipment that we can bring in. I'm drawing blanks right now, but you guys know what I mean, right? You guys can craft, you know, higher tier equipment that you can bring into investigations. And you guys could do that because your van camper was just back at base building the base up and leveling up the crafting. You guys are having a chat back and forth, so I'm just kind of skimming really quick to kind of get caught up. Because I know Psycho's busy, and I know he's probably responding to some stuff. Taking turns multiple times. Absolutely, yeah, Shapefist. Without the open world survival aspect, my big question would be, does the world need another Phasmo? Well, see, here's the thing, Quincy. At the end of the day, whether you think the world needs another Phasmo or not, that's, I mean, the Hauntings was born out of that idea. And again, I had the idea for the Hauntings prior to Phasmo, and then Phasmo actually canceled the Hauntings because I was like, that's the game I wanted to make. But then it got revived because I saw ways to improve Phasmo, right? So I think you got to look at it was what the Hauntings was when it started 2.5 years ago. Was very much the game that I wanted to make originally, and to address a lot of the problems that were within Phasmo. Obviously, in the last 2.5 years, a bunch of ghost hunting games have come out since then. So it's like, okay, does the world need another game that's just ghost hunting like that? Or is it something like this is what it could need, right? Where it still scratches that itch for a lot of people who do the ghost hunting stuff like Phasmo, but then it gives them more to do than just ghost hunting. They prove the concept, but they don't gather critical mass to sustain themselves. Most die because there aren't enough players. That's true too. On Dark Terms, no. Do I hear a quiz game? Exactly, yeah. I would actually love an open world ghost hunting game. I think it would be cool to build a small base next to the place you're investigating. More like make a trip to that spooky house in the woods and need to build a base near it. I mean, it could be that way, right? So the idea that I originally was saying was you'd be building up your command center, and then maybe you can pull out some resources and go build out a little field locations, right? That you can stock gear at and come back to as you need to, or whatever, right? Totally. I mean, like, let me rephrase this, guys. When I say base building, I don't mean like you go over to a pre-built structure and you just click, I have enough money to unlock this wall now, and then the wall just spawns. It's very much like I have enough resources to build this wall. Find a place in the world that this wall can sit on, right? Like it has to be on the right kind of terrain, not colliding with meshes, etc. Right? All that stuff still. But then you just build, right? So if you want to build up around your base there, do you want to build little outposts that are outside of these small towns so that you have a place to drop off resources after you've looted? I do think that there will be still a central command point that all of the possessed agents go back to after you've saved them. So that there still will probably be a little town that you have to go to in order to interact with the NPCs. But in terms of if you want to go out and build up like little like field locations that you can store resources at, or you can, you know, maybe there's an NPC that you can get that says like, hey, if I build a little house or a little structure right here and I put resources in this crate, maybe there's a guy that will occasionally come out and do pickups from your different field locations and bring them back to the NPCs for them to craft you gear. Like, who knows? Like, there's all these opportunities for that stuff. But when I say base building, I'm not saying like you click on a wall that needs to be built and it gets built. It is, I've unlocked the pattern for building a wall, and I'm gonna go build a little hut out by the farmhouse that I can store resources in, so that when I go to do the investigation, I can come and just drop stuff off here before having to go back. Like, that's all up to however, it's a sandbox, however you guys want to build it. building mansions and on for no reason. Exactly. Spook shacks near haunted sites. You could. Looked great at the beginning. Oh, which one was that? You talking about the Dead Matter game? I think it did look good right at the beginning, yeah, and then it just kind of went downhill. I haven't seen. I've seen parts of the Palea. Is that how you say that? Checked it out the other day. Okay. His bank. My wife is the bank roller during spooky games. He brought in the van and we 3-man investigate. The camera reviews and such. She sports. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, right? Is what if you build a little base outside, right? That you put up some camera feeds and stuff too. And you have your van person just sitting out there. And, okay, they might occasionally get attacked by a shadow person, right? But you just leave them out there with a assault shotgun and they're good. I did not panic button. No, I didn't go to Unreal Fest. I'm in the middle of Dark Passenger, so I couldn't. I'm not going to TwitchCon. I'm not leaving my house until Dark Passenger's done, except for a work trip that I have at the end of the month. People focus on crafting. Yeah. And that's what I was saying earlier too, is the idea, guys, is that you would be able to select the mode for your world, either hardcore or softcore. In softcore, if you die, you just get brought back to the command center and you lose equipment, you lose experience or whatever, right? In hardcore, though, if you die, that character is deleted and you have to start a new world or a new character. And again, there's RPG elements to the game. You will be leveling up your character, leveling up your crafting skills, leveling up your scavenging skills, your ghost hunting skills, your ghost knowledge skills. Like, all of that will be leveling up with your character. So when you hit play game, it's not going to be like, oh, I'm going to select, Psycho's model and equipment technician, right? And then later on be like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to play priest now. You have to exit out of the map, create a priest, and start over at level 1. You'll still have your equipment technician at whatever level they were, but it's more like World of Warcraft in that instance, that you're creating a character and you're not doing it, whereas like the Hauntings right now is like you select your character model and you select your class and then you go play a game, right? And then you come back to the lobby and you can change it to play a game, right? It's not like that. This is you create a character in this world. And then eventually we might add like a character creator where you can actually like adjust the character and make it the way you want. I think for now we'll just start with base models just to speed up things. And then again, we'll come back and let you just have to create new characters. Now, I'm not sure if I want to allow you to be able to say like, okay, I've already established this world and I'm going to create a new character and join that world with it. Or if it's going to be like each character has their own world and you can join friends' worlds. I don't know exactly. I'll have to spitball on that because again, this is just an idea that came up recently. I'm talking a whole lot today because I can feel my throat already hurting. All right. Danger for base. Well, hunt to win, that's what I'm saying. Structures will not protect you from shadow people. Shadow people will still spawn and attack you. They'll manifest, is what I'm going to call it. They're going to manifest and attack you. The only time you're safe from them is when you're in the command center back in the main town where the NPCs are at, or if you're inside the location that has an entity. So if you're inside the farmhouse with an entity, you can't get attacked by shadow people there. But the zombies of this game are going to be the shadow people, and they just manifest out of nowhere and attack you randomly. So even though you might be in a structure that you built out by the farmhouse, it doesn't mean you're safe from shadow people. They'll still get in there and attack you. The only place you're safe, like I said, inside the level with an entity or inside the command center with the NPCs. Makes sense. What I'm more thinking in the sense of something like Blair Witch, for example. You make a trip to these places, which could be in the world, and you need to survive during this whole trip, including the ghost hunt. Something amazing can also incorporate the story. Well, that's what I'm saying. Shadow people will still attack you on your way out in the open world. Shadow people can attack you anywhere, just not inside the locations that are haunted by an entity. Yeah, I don't.
It has a little idle time. You can jump into action without fuss, which is compelling to people. Will spare time. Adds intermediate steps before they enjoy the fun part. It's a lot of effort. Well, yes, it would take balancing, guys. Absolutely. Something my friends need to. Not enough for the rest of the team to do. Even in larger maps, just bring in stuff in the building. But one person with enough game knowledge can solve the whole case. There's construction or something similar, so I really would give them something to make them feel useful. True Panic, yeah. That's another reason. I mean, I'm interested in this idea. You don't have to do it just food for thought, since in open world you can make the name Hauntings of small towns. Yeah, I get you. Get what you're saying. Sounds like a ton of work and years of development. So here's the thing, though, Psycho. So the only part of the development that would need to be done in this case is mostly all of the open world portion of it, right? Which is like, you know, scavenging, the base building, crafting, that kind of stuff, which could be prototyped relatively quick. The investigation stuff is pretty much like, I'm just going to take it out of the current Hauntings game and plop it into this game, right? So it's not like I have to redesign or reprogram a lot of the investigation stuff. It would just be the other part of it. And the only way that I would do this is if I received enough funding through either crowdsource funding or investors that I can hire at least 9 other people to work on it with me. And I think between myself and 9 other people, plus all of the work that I've already done on the original Hauntings, it would not take years to make. I already have, like, if you go and look at the mine, the gold mine map inside of the Hauntings, it already has a very, very large outside map. Like, I could literally throw this whole entire game pretty much into the map that already has the mine in it and just put all the different locations in there. Like, it would literally just be copy and paste out of the Hauntings into this. So I already have 2.5 years worth of work on the Hauntings that would basically front run this game, right? And then from there, it would just be a matter of building out the other little systems, which I think with a team of 9 other people working on it with me, I don't think would take nearly as long. I think part of the problem that I have right now is that I'm working a day job, right? And I'm working on this solo. I think if I had enough money and investment from an investor, crowdfunding, whatever, that I could then either put my day job on sabbatical or, you know, completely quit my day job to work on it, plus hiring 9 other people as their day job to work on this game, I think it would go a lot faster. But if I can't secure funding for this, then this whole open world thing kind of gets pushed down the road, and I'm going to just release the current version of the Hauntings as it is under my own solo development, and then hopefully that gives me enough funding to pursue this bigger scale game. And maybe if the Hauntings draws enough attention, investors would be more keen to supporting this open world thing at that point. I don't know. It's all kind of like I need to put together a good pitch and just see what happens. You never know, right? If you don't ask, you'll never know. And from my initial conversations that I've had with a lot of these people, they're not sold on just a ghost hunting game, right? Especially considering, you know, how many ghost hunting games have come out and kind of everybody's kind of reverted back to Phasmo. Like, it's very hard to sell just a ghost hunting game to any potential investor. However, like I said, you start throwing those words, open world, RPG, survival, crafting, you start throwing those words into the conversation, and a lot of doors start to open up where they're like, well, hey, wait a minute. Like, what are you talking about now? You know, that's the general vibe that I've gotten from this so far. So that's kind of where this whole thought process has evolved from, was kind of where I'm at right now with being able to proceed with things. Obviously, I'm going to work on Dark Passenger. Dark Passenger is my main priority right now. I'm not even going to start working on this prototype until Dark Passenger is done. But like I said, I kind of want to start getting the community involved in this idea and the thought process of it, because if you guys come up with some stuff and you're like, hey, you know what, I really love the idea, but here's a couple things I thought of, that might help me be able to put those things into the game. So when I take them to an investor, I'll be like, well, hey, look, like, the community's behind it. They gave me these additional ideas. I think they're great. We're gonna I want to implement them into this thing, this overarching thing. Here's a little prototype framework of it. What do you think? I think it becomes a bigger sell. So again, nothing's being decided today, guys. This is all just kind of, warming up the community to the idea. Marengo, what's up, buddy? You love Minecraft? Grandson, I don't have an ETA just yet. Again, it all depends on the scope of what I want to scope the work. Depends on how much funding we get, because if I go in there and they're like, here's $10 million, I'll be like, okay. We can open up the scoping a little bit bigger, which might push, ETAs out longer. If it's like, okay, they're like, no, we're going to put you on a very strict budget of this, but we like the idea, ETAs will be shorter, right? Or sooner, because the scope of the work will probably get scoped down. So it's going to get scoped to whatever we can get investment wise. If I can't get any kind of investment wise into it, then yeah, we're just going to leave it back to what I have, and I'll just keep working on what I have. I'd keep the Phasmo style click and play, but also I'd add an optional campaign. To tell seasonally changing horror stories, best of both worlds. The only problem with that is so I think what we discussed kind of, Jiggy, is that we might make it so that you have to clear each location once in the open world, and then after you've cleared the location, you can go back to where the NPCs are in the command center, and you can we'll have like an arcade mode where you click on the farmhouse in there, and it will spawn a new entity in the farmhouse and fast travel you to it. And then when you're done with it or whatever, it fast travels you back to the command post. Rather than it being like a completely separate mode, have it just be more of like a mechanic within inside the open world. So that if you want to just do Phasmo style, just kind of spam maps and keep playing maps, you can go into a map that you've cleared from the command center, and you can just say, hey, I want to do the farmhouse again. Randomize a ghost for me and send me there. Right? Select the equipment I want to bring with me, and then it fast travels you to the farmhouse with your equipment. And maybe we put in some sort of like container, like instance type container, where it's like, okay, when you're doing arcade mode, you can't fast travel to the farmhouse so that you can get closer to the gold mine and go do that one, right? You are doing the arcadey Phasmo style, just I want to keep doing ghost hunts, so that once you've cleared a location, you can just play it over and over and over again if you want, from the command post. Yeah, seamless open world. I haven't looked too much into the world partition system quite yet, Grandson, but it is something that I'm considering. I have talked to Sovereign, who's worked with world partition quite a bit, and he's given me some tips and stuff on it. We'll see if we use it or not. Again, it all depends on how large the map actually turns out being, because you can have a fairly large map without world partition or level streaming or anything like that. And we might just be like, hey, Nanite, just do your thing, and then just apply some fog off in the distance so that you can only see so far. You know what I mean? I'm down to dump ideas. I mean, yeah, if you have ideas, guys, like I said, feel free to, you can either DM them to me. I'd prefer you DM them to me, or maybe, yeah, just DM them to me on Discord or on Twitter or something. Just because, like, I know, like, if we start putting ideas into, like, some sort of, like, public forum, like, whether it be on the Discord or on Twitter or whatever, like, you open that idea to a discussion with a lot of people, and I'd rather, be able to talk to the person who had the idea and not necessarily talk to the person who had the idea and then 50 other people's opinion on the idea, more because no other ghost in the game was able to give Phasmo some competition. And then that's true. That's true. And I think the Hauntings in its current state would give Phasmo some competition, but I think opening the spectrum to include more people, right? Your survival base building RPG kind of people, they may be interested in this game just for those mechanics of it alone, and then bring in their friends who want to do more of the ghost hunting thingy to like work cooperatively together on that. So I think it's a little bit of a, you know, it opens the spectrum to a lot more people than just the ghost hunting community. The ghost hunting community is huge. Don't get me wrong. I mean, obviously Phasma was able to capture millions of sales. However, if you look and compare that to games like, you know, like we were talking about, like Valheim and Ark and these open world and Sons of the Forest, these open world kind of survival games, the market for those is just exponentially huge. So you can combine those two together. I think you have a very, very large spectrum of people that could be interested in this game, which is what investors are looking at, right? People who want to know that their money is going to go to a pool that's big enough for them to potentially recoup their money in the long run, right? So I don't want to sit here and sound like I'm money hungry or anything like that. I just think that it sounds like at the end of the day, if I can put a team of people together and we can start putting out quality stuff that I feel good of like representing what I think Broken Cup Studios should be, then like I'm willing to give up, you know, equity in Broken Cup Studios to investors or whatever to try to make that happen, right? Like I'm not looking to become like rich at the end of the day. I would just like to be able to quit my day job of what I'm doing now to focus on my own thing and making games, you know? And I think that going this route might be the better of the two than just trying to sit here and try to either A, fund it all myself, or B, you know, try to get like, you know, crowdsource and funding. And I think it's just going to be easier if I have, because like another thing with investors too is a lot of times they'll bring in like expertise that they may have within the industry and or connections they have within the industry, you know, being able to advertise and bring in higher tier talent to the team is going to be a lot easier if there's funding behind it. Oh God, sorry, my throat is like super dry now. Was up just a question? What if the investment, if you get the investment and fail to deliver or not? On their side. So it depends, right? If you go in for a loan, then if you go for a loan, then yes, the risk is on me. I have to repay that loan with interest, right? If you go in with an investor, they are taking the risk of investing that money. So if I fail to deliver for whatever reason, or we're not able to meet the delivery of it, they're risking their money to do that. Now they could maybe try to recoup the money in some way or whatever. I don't know. Again, that's a lot of the stuff that we have to look into. But the idea is with an investment, they are taking on more of the risk and investing in what you're doing because they think that there's a return. Just like if I were to take my money and go put it into the stock market, right? If the stock market goes down and I lose money, okay, that sucks. I lost money on the stock market, right? Like I can't go to the stock market and be like, hey, I put $100 in here and now it's worth $0. Like I want my $100 back, right? That's an investment, right? If you go to a bank and you get a business loan or something, that's different, right? Because now you're responsible to paying that back or declaring bankruptcy or something, which can screw you over. There's a lot more risk inherent to me in that instance. That's why I'm saying that like a business loan is like the absolute last case scenario that I would consider. And even then, if I'm considering that at that point, it might just be more of, I'm just going to finish what I have as a solo developer, put that out, and hopefully I make the money from that to go make this open world game before I take out a loan that could potentially, you know, financially ruin me. Investors, you know, when they put money into something like this, they know it's a risk, right? Like when Tencent invested $7 million into Dead Matter, like they knew that they were having a risk of Dead Matter not being successful, right? Tencent has billions of dollars, so $7 million isn't necessarily going to ruin them. That's what an investor is kind of looking at. They're taking an investment and a risk that could pay off huge for them, or they could end up losing their money. Honestly, that's the route that I most likely would like to go, because I can then use the money to hire a team and somebody else takes most of the risk. It makes it a lot easier for me to develop, knowing that I'm not sitting here trying to figure out how to pay a bank back every month with interest. Now that also, you know, you are held to whatever the investors are kind of saying, but like, you know, if they want the game out now, it has to come out now, you know. Like I don't have as much control that way, but whereas if I would have all the control if I took a bank loan. But again, it's kind of where do you want to put that risk? You love the idea? Okay, good. Go big. On Black Ops 2, I never looked at that. So if you can do smaller sections individually, interesting. In the end, the devil's in the details. I believe any idea can work if you put the work into. For people. I mean, that's absolutely true, right? That's real. That's true in any case, right? Devil's within the details. You really have to impress a number of people. And I mean, ultimately, I know at the end of the day, it's going to be my decision, right? And people can be mad at me. People can be upset that things are taking longer. You know, I have my own struggles, my own things that I have to deal with. And at the end of the day, you know, the hauntings exist whether I make it or not, right? Or not I make it or not. But if I make it or if I don't make it, that's what's going to determine whether or not the hauntings exists. I think part of the problem that specifically the hauntings had is that there was a lot of hype built up around the hauntings right in the beginning of development, right? A lot of these games that you guys look at are very successful now. Your Stardew Valleys, your Phasmos, you know, all these kind of games, they took years to develop, and then the hype was built like towards the end, right? The hauntings has been kind of backwards for that. Like the hype for the hauntings was very much within the first like couple months of development. And so now there's a lot of these people who are sitting here being like, oh, it's been 2.5 years and the hauntings isn't out yet. I'm like, yeah, but look at like all these other big games that you really liked. It took them 4, 5, 6 years to make. You guys just found them at year 5, you know? You found me at month 1. Like there's a difference there. And so I think that there's a lot of people that are interested in the hauntings and also kind of figuring out, oh man, like game development, not only does it take a long time to do, but there's a lot of like hurdles, obstacles, twists, you know, rerouting, changing, all that stuff that goes on through the course of development, which is why these games take several years to make. If you look at the end result of a game, you might be able to say, okay, if I break that down into individual chunks of development, yeah, that could be done in like 6 months. But they had to figure out those individual chunks over the course of the whole entire time they were developing it. And I think a lot of people don't realize that that's kind of how game development is, especially in like the solo indie world, right? I can go in with 100% intentions for this thing to be like this, and 6 months later it morphs into something like this, and now all of a sudden 6 months after that I have to scope it back down to this, and then, you know, something changes or new technology comes out and now I'm back to this. It's like, you know, that's just kind of how game development works, unless you have a bigger studio that's like a very structured and rigid thing, and even those can take a long time because now you have to, you know, make 10 different people all work on the same common goal. Could be difficult at times. So sorry, it's my little rant about game development and people just, you know, having to understand that games go through a life cycle that is very different than what you see at the end result of the product. End of rant. Let me run around and collect rocks. There you go. I'm gonna need a beverage soon. Faz on mobile? No, not unless I did like a 2D version of it or something. Ghost 7 Day to Die sounds way cooler, IMO. So that's again, guys. When I look at this, and I'm making my decision on this, I'm going to be playing a lot more of these survival games. Whether I do them on stream, off stream, with friends who are streaming, I don't know how that's going to work. But the idea is I'm going to try to go through and play these games like 7 Days to Die. The other game that you guys were just talking about, that people keep bringing up. Not Paleo, the other one. I already forgot about it. God damn it. I might try Valheim out. You know, might try Sons of the Forest out. Oh. You guys, I'm scrolling looking for it. I can't find it now. But there's, maybe DM me if there's like a survival game that you think I should check out that's kind of falling along the lines of what we're talking about. Again, I'm going to try and put together a YouTube video, guys, that'll hopefully only be like 10 or 15 minutes long, that kind of goes over all of the stuff that we discussed today. So if you guys haven't been here from the beginning of the stream, you missed stuff, whatever, I'm going to try my best to do like a quick 10-15 minute recap on YouTube so that I can send it out. And then you guys can share it with your friends who might want to like weigh in. Like if you bring it to a friend and you're like, hey, he was talking about doing this, like, what do you think? And they're like, I don't know, what about this, what about that? There's like a 10-15 minute video on YouTube that you can send them and watch and be like, okay, this is like the gist of it. Now, like, what do you think, right? You can have, State of Decay, thank you. That these are like, you know, kind of the concepts, the ideas. The way around that. And that's the thing. I feel like there's how many billions of people in this world. I mean, you can't please all of them. You're going to upset some of them. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, I have to make decisions that I think are going to be more beneficial in the big picture. Because a lot of people also, when they look at games, right, they look at it from the very scope of their world, right? They look at it like, this is what I want, right? I want it now. I want it yesterday. And they don't take into account a lot of like the decision-making process that has to go through it, the overall picture of it, and like where it can go from now to later. Mentioned earlier with Stardew Valley, that was made. Yeah, so Stardew Valley took 4.5 years to make, right? And then it's been updated for like the last 6 years. So if you look at Stardew Valley today, I downloaded it literally, not last night, but the night before. I downloaded it like 2 days ago. The game that I have on my PlayStation over there right now has been in development for almost 10 years. Right? Like, it's not... Like, what I have right now is not what it was initially released, and that initial release took him 4.5 years to get to that point. You know, that's still 2 more years on top of what I've already been working on the Hauntings for. Came in late. Why are you on that store page? Oh, somebody brought this up, and I've been meaning to look at it, and I haven't looked at it yet because I keep talking. Somebody was saying that this game is similar. It's open world, ghost horror, something or other. Investigate a haunted forest with up to 5-player co-op. Try to lift the curse. I think this is a game that Sonic Hit played yesterday, and he was complaining about like once you're like in an investigation or whatever, like you're locked into it, and it's not like as open worldy as it sounded or something. I don't know. Wake, hello, how you doing? Welcome on in. But yeah, State of Decay I want to check out. 7 Days to Die, those 2 games for sure I want to check out. Sons of the Forest is probably on my list. Might look at Valheim. So there's a couple games that I want to try playing here in the near future. Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like I might try to jump in with Turtle or Random or Sonic Hit or somebody, Orin, see if they want to play some survival games with me. $5 million, you'll make it. Has some issues, yeah. It had problems, yeah. I need to watch Sonic Hit's VOD to figure out what his issues were with this and see some gameplay of it. Again, we were going to talk about it. I just brought it up so I can talk about it once I get a break from talking about this stuff. I'm doing all right, Wake. I'm just, you know, overworked, overstressed, trying to come up with some ideas. But otherwise, good. I've seen Labyrinth, if it's the game I'm thinking of, Mikey. Is that the one where you drop like glow sticks and you're walking through like a maze, like a, what do they call those? Hedge maze? Something like that? Do you want to stay in the ghost/shadow people, or also plan to branch out to other folklore, cryptids, etc.? So, Hunt to Win, that's where I was talking about doing limited time events and seasons in the game, right? So we might add stuff where there's like skinwalkers and Bigfoots and, you know, other things that are in the open world that you have to deal with, and then leave the investigation part of the game the same, but then the seasons would affect the world in some way, or limited time events. I never understand the appeal of Labyrinth. Why it's good. I don't absolutely don't know. I've always seen part of it, you know. If it's the game I'm thinking of. Very relatable, yeah. Sorry, DM message. Guys, me 2 seconds. I'm literally just gonna walk over to my little mini fridge over there. I need to get another water to drink or something because I ran out of beverage and my throat is like really dry. So give me just 2 seconds. Talk amongst yourselves. I mean, like literally just right now. All right. I'm back. See? 2 seconds. No chaos, no chaos. The real star of the show. I mean, it is. It's been supporting me for years. Get it? It's a dad chair joke. Sorry, that's stupid. Try to set the chair on fire? God damn it. Can't leave you guys alone for 2 seconds. All right. All right. I kind of want to pull up Sonic Hits VOD for this game. Unless... Jesus Christ. Sorry. Jesus. How loud is this? It's one way to scare people. I know. I just woke myself up too. Is there gameplay footage for this? Didn't need years anyways. I mean, they're overrated to be honest. Okay, that was weird. You heard that with volume down? I apologize, guys. I didn't think it was going to be that loud. It murdered me as well. This looks weird. I just wanted to get all you guys' attention so you look back at the stream again. That's all, guys. Quincy, I have no idea. I was playing Dark Tower. I never saw the gameplay. Gotcha. I might pull up Sonic Hits VOD just so we can see what it's like. He played this last night, you guys said, right? Yeah, Mikey. I've seen and heard stuff about that game. I don't know how to pronounce it. Cordosis or whatever. The game that I was actually really impressed with recently, I think Oren was playing it. How do you spell it? Reveal? Yeah. This one. This one I was actually really impressed with recently. Graphically, it looked really good. Surprisingly enough, it's Unity. And I was actually really impressed with this one recently. But there wasn't really any spookies that happened in the demo. So... this one looked really cool recently though. Hey, wait. Is she streaming right now? Because I thought she played this the other night. Huh. She's not streaming right now. So did they just take her VOD and put it on there? I'm really confused. Reveal, yeah. I personally do not enjoy jump scares at all. I feel like if I ever wanted to try to develop a horror game, I would just end up scaring myself with jump scares. There's so many clips, Wake, on my channel of me scaring myself in development. It's probably a replay, yeah, but like I don't know if they, because like your Twitch stream, you can't stream to I don't think you can stream to Steam at the same time. So I don't want, this has to be from her VOD, but I just don't know if she gave them permission to use it or not in the broadcast thing. Anyways, yeah, no, there's a lot of clips of me scaring myself with making a horror game, because here's the, and I've said this time and time before, guys, is when you're developing a game, it is much different than when you play the same game when it's done, right? Because when it's done, that means it's been tested, it's working as they intended it to work, it is ready to push out the door, right? When you're developing a horror game, however, here's the difference. What ends up happening is you're like, this code should do this, right? And then you go play it, and you're like, why isn't the guy running at me from over there? He's supposed to run at me from over there. That's odd. It just must not be working. And then you turn around, and now he's running at you from over here, and you scare the crap out of yourself because it was not what you expected the code to do, but you had a bug in there somewhere, you just didn't realize it. It's way scarier than when you're actually playing the game, because when you're actually playing the game, you're expecting the unexpected, right? But when you're developing the game, you're like, I know what should be happening because I wrote the code for this. And when it doesn't happen, but it happens differently or unexpectedly, or something comes flying through the wall or whatever because you have a bug somewhere, that's where game development in horror is actually scarier, in my opinion, than playing the game, because you're 100% expecting something to happen in a very specific way, and when it doesn't and something else happens, it's super scary because you're like, I wrote the code, this shouldn't be happening, but then it does. Oh, I paused it to watch that video. I was like, why is my music stopped? Software bugs already scary enough as is? Yeah. Anywho's, yeah, so that's the whole thing. Twitch can only simulcast to TikTok, that's definitely from their VOD, Mikey, because I know Michelle was playing this yesterday or something. I just don't know if Michelle knows that it's being broadcast on the Steam page. I don't think she would have a problem with it, because at that point it's like, oh, people might come to her Twitch from it. I don't know, but I don't know. It could be different with her too, because she's an actress, whatever. Needs to, maybe control her content. I don't know. I don't know what's going on, guys. I just work here, okay? A Larry Scare compilation. We don't need that, Huntsman. We really don't. Game's passed, right? Ghost Machine. See, there. We don't need to look at that, Deb. We don't need to see that. I wonder if in the future enemy behavior it could be more adapted to the players, like using an AI. I think that there is some work being done in I can't think of the machine learning thing that they're doing. But there is some stuff that I think that they are working on. Not necessarily, it might be Epic. There's a sort of machine learning thing that I saw that they were trying to put together as like an AI system for Unreal that would be able to take inputs from things and then use that to make decisions as it learned about it or whatever. And so it would be really neat in like an open world game like this, Jiggy, would be to like take everybody's game data and have it keep feeding it into this machine learning thing, so we can see how like the community as a whole plays this open world game, and then we can adjust the AI based off like general play styles of like the whole community using machine learning. That would be really cool. Neural AI, I don't personally. Although I am going to like that's the thing, in the end of this month I have a work trip, which is what's kind of screwing up Dark Passenger a little bit right now, is I have a work trip going to Maryland, where I'll be taking place in a AI working group thing. So it's going to be some stuff with AI, but I think it's more so towards cybersecurity and not like general AI. My current ghost favorite, I don't. So here's the thing. It's funny. People always kind of find this funny about me, is that I don't really like playing horror games. I just like making them. So I've played Phasmo as like a research type thing, but like I don't even think Phasmo is that scary, but I just personally didn't really enjoy repetitively playing Phasmo. So that's why I was trying to fix things with with the Hauntings to make it more enjoyable. But in terms of favorite ghost hunting game besides Phasmo, I don't really know. I think Demonologist could have been way better if they didn't static script their scares. I don't know. Well, honestly, I don't really remember all of them that have came out because, like I said, I don't really play a whole lot of them. It'd be very compelling in a ghost hunting game, so the behavior would always be surprising. Well, that's what I was saying is I already have a system inside of the Hauntings right now where the entity uses like a two-pronged approach. It's kind of similar to how Alien Isolation's AI works, in the sense that there's a game manager and then there's the AI. The game manager kind of tells the AI, hey, this is the general vicinity of your target. So the AI says, hey, this is who I'm trying to target based off of these weighted factors, right? And then the game manager says, okay, hey, your player is within this area, right? So that the AI will then path towards that area if it's trying to attack that player. But then the AI itself doesn't know where the player actually is. It has to visually see it through a perception system, has to see its target in order for it to actually attack it. Otherwise, it would just path around in that area looking for it until it runs out of energy, and then it will, de-manifest. I don't know, whatever the opposite of manifesting is. It'll disappear again, and then it'll go back to regenerating energy. That's kind of how the AI works right now in the Hauntings. So it's kind of a two-pronged approach. It knows the general vicinity of the player, but then it like paths around looking for the player. And then if it sees it, it'll start chasing the player. And if they lose line of sight, they'll go and look around that last area they saw them and do all that other stuff until they give up or run out of energy, and then they move on again. Once spent 2 full days troubleshooting my code because my compiler gave me weird that crashes with memory exceptions. Turns out I accidentally forgot. Yeah. One thing that's nice about coding in C++ for Unreal using Writer is they catch a lot of those like little syntax things for you and be like, hey, like there should be another thing here, right? And then once you start getting the same kind of errors over and over again, or compile or like editor crashes, you can kind of be like, oh, I realize it's trying to access something that there's not actually anything set, right? There's no value sets. It's accessing a null pointer, but like you start to see those errors over and over again. That's one thing that's nice about working with inside of like Unreal. It's like I don't have to deal with like standard C++ and memory management, garbage collection, and all that other stuff. Like it handles all that stuff for me, and then Writer makes it a lot easier to kind of work with that as an IDE because it ties into all that stuff and it kind of warns you. So it's kind of nice. It's not too overly complicated. On Dark Terms? No. Is that on Steam? $18. I think I've seen this. Sonic had played this, didn't he? Didn't he have like an early access with the developers or something to play this? Yeah, because like you can turn yourself into an animal or something, right? Or you can play as your cat or something. So I think it was open world, but yeah, like they have dungeons that you do investigations in, right? So this has some similarities to what I'm talking about, yeah. This is a recent example of variable. Yes, I've looked at Mortuary Assistant for a lot of inspiration. Oh, UE5 through this was for that as well, but VS compiler didn't catch it since it was very in the file. Oh, do you use Visual Studio, Wake? I highly recommend checking out Writer from JetBrains. It is so much easier to use that than just regular Visual Studio. Too poor for JetBrains? I don't have a partnership with them, but I know there's some other streamers that I think have a partnership with them where they can give out like a free yearly 1 year subscription to JetBrains. I don't remember. Yeah, Ryder needs a subscription, yeah. So it's not a wait, what we were talking about earlier, it's not an MMO RPG horror game, but what we're talking about is taking my main game, The Hauntings, and converting it to an open world ghost hunting. So open world ghost hunting survival RPG is kind of what the term would be. And it would be, right now I'm thinking 1 to 8 players, might be 1 to 5 players, private servers, peer-to-peer, your own local save files basically. And then it would be what I already have for The Hauntings, but just in an open world. Yeah, the MMO part, I'll probably never do an MMO, mostly because it's way too costly for infrastructure. Handling all of that is just a lot. I'd much rather it just be like you have your own save files locally for your own worlds. You can invite friends to your world, and it's just peer-to-peer based, you know? Yeah, it's like $15 a month, I think. That sounds right. Or, yeah, you can pay... I think it's a little cheaper than $150 for the year, because I think they give you a little discount if you pay for the year. I don't remember. They've been in my chat once before, but I need to reach out to them, see if we can partner with them or something. Low scale multiplayer is black. Yeah, multiplayer in general is it's mind melting. That's honestly why I'm working on Dark Passenger right now, guys. Is I needed a break from multiplayer coding, because like every project that we were doing up to that point was all multiplayer. So I needed a break, and so we're doing Dark Passenger. Did it just break? No. Sorry, my wristband I thought just broke. It just didn't hook on. Sorry, guys. So Ryder has a lot of there's a plugin, Jiggy, that you can install into your game, and so not only does it like help with syntax and the IntelliSense is a little bit better in my opinion, but it also, if you install the plugin into your project, if you define classes inside of C++ or whatever, it'll show you all of the blueprints that are referencing your classes and stuff as well. So there's a little bit more connectivity between the C++ and the blueprint side of it, because the plugin can kind of connect your code, and it shows you like the references, what objects are calling certain functions, so you have more of a connection between C++ and blueprints. So it's actually kind of nice. Just look at VSC for ID. I have no... Visual Studio Community? Is that what you're talking about, Tier 1? I think you could do it. You could do it with Visual Studio Community. That's not a big deal. I'm just saying that Writer gives you a lot of like, it holds your hand a lot more. I feel like, what makes it a lot easier to like, especially if you're getting into C++. That's probably what he's talking about. Yeah, Visual Studio Code. Oh, 1 second, guys. Sorry. It's my daughter. She's off school for the weekend, the long weekend. Classic child. Are you hungry? Make me some food. Anyways. So anyways, guys, like I said, I don't necessarily want to make... I mean, we already live for 3 hours. I should probably wrap it up. I got day job stuff that I need to do today. And, oh, what is all this? Speaking of day job, I got messages I got to dig through. I do want to put together a little YouTube video really kind of discussing everything we talked about today. Because, again, I want to push it out to everywhere I can. I'll put it out on the Steam page update. I'll put it up on YouTube. I'll throw a link to it from Twitter. Maybe I'll chop it up into... If I could do it under 10 minutes, I think there's a way that you can put 10-minute TikToks up. I don't know. But I'd like to just kind of get all this information out. Like I said, just kind of get you guys thinking on it. Because I think if I can get the community's input onto it, it'll make my decision a lot easier on whether or not I should push out for investments and all that other stuff to get it done, or if I should just, you know, kind of keep my head down and keep working on what I already have scoped for the game. Because it is a bit of a change. It's a bit of a step to a different scenario, but I think that it, you know, will... I think it will be an interesting and welcome change. Where to vote? It won't be like a voting deadline or anything like that. I might put a poll up on Twitter. I don't know. But yeah, task 1 right now is finishing up Dark Passenger and then putting that out. Yeah. Task 1. Finish Dark Passenger. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I do have a Steam page up. I need to work on the trailer. I have so much to do for Dark Passenger. Let me get the search the Hauntings Dark Passenger though. Yeah, right here. So this is the game I'm working on at the moment. If you want to check it out, I don't have a whole lot of information on here just yet. I am planning on to get it out this month, but the day job that I have right now is kind of screwing things up. So. We'll see. We'll get it out as quickly as I can. I'm still aiming for this month, but we'll see how it all goes. If you guys want the link to this, if you guys want to wish list it, I appreciate it. Even like I said, I'll do my little spiel, guys. Any developer out there, any developer that you guys want to support, even if you don't plan on playing their game or buying the game or anything like that, dropping a wish list on the game actually helps quite a bit. Steam uses that data to push the game to other people based off the number of people who are interested in it early on. So just wishlisting the game costs you absolutely nothing. All it's going to do is send you an email when the game gets launched. You can just go ahead and delete that email. But it'll really help push it out to other people who might be interested in buying the game and or finding the game based off of the number of people who wishlist it. So I always recommend, even if you have no intention of buying it or playing it, if you want to support a developer, clicking wishlist costs you absolutely no money and takes you 2 seconds to do. Appreciate it, Wake. I'm probably going to wrap up here shortly, guys. We'll send you guys over to somebody. But like I said, keep an eye out for the... Keep an eye out for the YouTube video. I appreciate it if you guys, you know, like and comment and do all the other stuff to help push it out on the algorithm. Share it with any of your friends that may be interested in having a discussion about this or having some input into this, because I know not everybody obviously comes and checks in for the live stream. Not everybody probably had 3 hours today in their day on a Friday to sit here and listen to me blabber about all this stuff too. So I'm gonna watch back. I'm gonna skim through the VOD, take notes, and get the highlights of it. Hopefully into a quick little 10-15 minute recap on YouTube, so that you guys can review it again if you have if you want to re-understand what the idea is, as well as you know, push forward and whatever. So appreciate it all. Let's see here, who is live at the moment. Random's playing Madison, not necessarily following the survival horror that we were just talking about, but could just go watch some Madison. That's for I like sending you guys somewhere like a spooky game, you know, because it's spooky month. Let's see here. Hot Cross is playing Parasocial. That was an interesting game. send you guys. Shushi's playing Phasmo, but Shushi's did some voice acting for Dark Passenger for me. All the more spooky. Yeah, right? That's what I'm thinking. Screw it. We're just going to send you guys to Random because, like I said, Random's playing Madison. And I thought Madison was a pretty well put together game. I just think that the problem with Madison was that business side of it, they didn't do a very good job, in my opinion. But... all right, guys, we're going to send you over to Random. Like I said, he's playing Madison. Like I said, guys, I appreciate y'all being here and listening to this. Don't take anything that was gone through today as it was set in stone. This is all just kind of spitballing right now to kind of get you guys' brainwaves thinking on it. Again, nothing that I did is what we're going to 100% do yet. So just keep that in mind. Put it in your back pocket. We'll probably stream again next week sometime to just kind of recap some stuff, as well as if you guys have any more comments, questions, or whatever with the idea, just kind of chit chat a little bit. I know lately I haven't been streaming very much, so I'm just trying to get Dark Passenger done with this tight deadline. It's just been rough. So, but I appreciate you again, guys. Like I said, all of you guys being here and hanging out, and yeah. So think on it, like and share the video when it comes out, and I'll see you guys next week. All right, have a good weekend, guys. Stay safe. See you later.
We are 5 subs away from 400.
Spiffing.
And that's why Walker needs to make the Hauntings open world and take another 2 years. Who's with